Hello, everybody. Pop culture curator here. So good to see you. It's Tuesday evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where you're at, and which means we are back for our horror sci-fi stream. Last week, I think it went really well. We covered the movie Hatchet, the first one that is. Like I was mentioning, then there's a total of four of those. I encourage you to check them out. Tonight, we're going to be covering the remake of the Blob. We covered the original 1958 version, I don't know, month and a half ago or so. And exactly 30 years after the 1958 version came out, we get the 1988 version. So this is with the updated special effects for the 80s. And in my personal opinion, it stands out as a really good movie for the practical effects. And it makes me miss the long gone by days where everything was relied on CGI. I wish they would use a little more practical effects these days instead of a lot of these Blumhouse garbage horror movies that are out. And first of all, I'd like to say hello to my esteemed fellow panelists. Gorilla, how are you doing tonight? Gorilla's random thoughts.
I'm doing all right there. Oh,
All right.
just getting the turkey ready.
Are you thawing it out? I guess you got a couple days in the refrigerator with that, huh?
I put it in the fridge on Sunday or Saturday.
Very nice. Do you brine it or anything?
Huh?
Brine, BRINE.
Clearly not.
No.
That's okay. Some people do, some don't. How are you doing, Nemesis? Good to see you there.
Good to see you too, Pop. Good to see you, Gorilla, and everyone in chat. I'm super stoked for this movie.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to Nemesis of Eden. This was his idea, and I think it was a great idea too. It was a good way to kick off the. We're going to be changing each week the format, similar like the voting poll I did a couple weeks ago. So this is our first week where him and I rotate by choosing a title, and I was a little under the weather, so I asked Nemesis. I said, "Can you do me a favor, pick a title for this week?" And he did, and I think he did a fantastic and amazing job. And I want to thank you for that, Nemesis.
Yeah. Now I got a question. Are we rating this solely on the merit of the movie or comparison to the original? Because I got
On the movie,
okay. Because I got two totally different ratings on that compared to the original.
you mean
I
you mean
mean,
two ratings, like one for the original and one for this one, or you mean two ratings for this movie by itself?
No, well, if it's a standalone movie, I got one rating. We're comparing it to the original, I got a different rating.
Well, I know we can't help it compared to the original, which is always that's okay to compare. I don't mind that. That's the whole point of why they have two different movies. The same thing's going to happen when we cover the remake of The Fly. There will be comparisons, and I don't mind that either. I wanted to say hello to the chat. Welcome. Basil Battle Dragon, it's so good to see you. Basil says, "Dang it, the VPN doesn't work." I'm sorry to hear that, Basil. I hope you're able to enjoy the stream. If you're watching this on a rerun, I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be covering, like I said, The Blob from 1988. With, in my opinion, some fantastic mechanical and practical effects. And if you enjoy it, please consider hitting the like button. And if you haven't done so, maybe subscribe to my channel. I think it's going to be fun tonight. We'll get through this fairly briskly. I know there's some people that are on the panel that it's a little late for them, and I don't want to keep up past their bedtime. I know they have to work tomorrow, and I don't want to put them in any kind of position where they have to be late. So, is there anything you guys would like to say before we get this started? Before we get the show on the road? On the road.
Oh, there's one point I want to point out that really just ticked me off there, but we'll talk about when we get there.
Okay. How about you, Nemesis? Anything you'd like to add?
nope. I'm good to get started with the movie.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. I want to say hello to Jim's Landscape LLC, #1 Commodore Productions. Hello, Jim. So good to see you. I'm off the next 2 days. Lucky guy. Lucky guy. I'm off too, and obviously I'm not working right now at this point. And I know my roommate's going to be going out of town here to visit his family for Thanksgiving. That's always a good thing, too. Also, Battle Dragons is I'm here, but disappointed. I was looking forward to being able to watch the movie. Oh, you haven't seen it, Basil? I'm sorry. Well, we don't want to spoil it for you. We're hoping when we do these streams that you are able to watch it on your own, because tonight pretty much is going to be spoiler filled. We're going to go pretty much in depth detail from beginning to end, and I hope that
Yeah.
doesn't ruin the experience for you. I hope you still watch it even afterwards. Go ahead, Nemesis. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good, buddy. I was just gonna say, yeah, Basil. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, please watch this film. This is amazing. Like the stills are not going to do any justice for the practical effects. Like the soundtrack's amazing, the acting's good. Like this is a top tier movie for me. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah. And hey, Basil. Hey, Jim.
Yeah,
Yes, hello, Jim.
It's sad. The 1980s was a really good period, great period for horror movies. This movie reminds me, when it comes to the special effects, it's up there with The Thing. And like I was mentioning, The Fly. I miss the 80s. The 80s, we had all these amazing, fantastic movies come out, and it just seemed like that was the golden age, the perfect time for Hollywood. Which obviously, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again.
No, it was certainly its own era.
One person said hi to me on Jill's channel. Yes, it definitely is. And and if somebody was to say, should we get a remake of the Blob? I'd say no. I think this remake pretty much did it, because if we did a remake now, it would be CGI. And so, no, I'm happy enough with this version. I think this one pretty much does it.
I wouldn't be opposed to a remake. Sorry, Pop. I wouldn't be opposed to a remake if they did mixed in good practical effects with good CGI. And mixed it like Jurassic Park, where you can't tell the difference, or it's interlaid just so it tricks your mind a little bit, but the main focus is on the practical effects. It could be done really well nowadays,
right?
If it was handled properly.
Nowadays, though, the center character would be a little girl who's the secret to everything. Remember? And she has a special bond with the Blob, and it doesn't hurt her, and she can communicate with it.
No, I mean it might, but like. Anyway,
I disagree with that, but that seems to be everything now. I mean, even King Kong. But oh well. Only one person said hi to me on Jill's channel. I am sorry to hear that, Jim. It reminds me like Bird of Prey's channel. I go onto his channel. Nobody talks to me. I'll get on there and I'll say hello, everybody. Nobody talks to me. Everybody talks to Bird, but they don't talk to each other. I don't understand it. I don't know why I go on there. Honestly, I wonder. I'm a paid member. And I wonder why I am. Basil Battle Dragon says, no big deal. Jim says, hi, Pop, Gorilla, Eden. Yeah, it's so good to see you, Jim. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, dude. Hope you're doing good, buddy.
And Jim drops a link there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get ready here.
Sounds good.
Get my ducks in a row, of course, as I always say.
So I'm curious, Pop. I couldn't figure out for the life of me. There's an actor in here. He's God damn it, and I didn't write the name down either. He's the lead in Eraserhead.
Yes, it is.
He's the main actor.
Ben Baron-Holtz.
Yes. Which doctor is he?
He's the doctor at the beginning, 20 minutes into the movie, where they go to his clinic, and where right, with the guy and his date are in there, and the guy gets killed, and she pulls his arm off. He's the doctor that's meeting with he's meeting with the lady, and he says, "I have a patient," and he says, "You got to get in here, guy." Anyway, but that's him. His face looks the same. He's a little older, and his hair is different, but that's definitely him.
Yeah, definitely. The hair threw me off, but now, yes, for sure. Okay, cool, neat.
Right. Now that we're watching it, and you get a good look at him, you recognize him. When we get our opening titles, TriStar Pictures, and hopefully I do have the subtitles turned on. I believe so. Directed by Chuck Russell. In my opinion, and Kevin Dillon, which was an odd choice for casting, but he did a good job carrying the movie, considering he's not really a name star. His brother is, I guess, more popular than him.
I liked him as the main actor. Like, it's funny because like you want to talk about comparing it to the original film. We'll get to that when we get to the scene, but it plays with your expectations if you've seen the original, which we all have.
Yes.
And here we have them preparing for snow, which of course is going to a little bit of foreshadowing.
I like how when it first starts, it makes it look like a ghost town. But in reality, they're all at the football game. It's a small town where everybody goes to the sporting events.
All right, there's a couple
Totally.
things I wanted to mention here. Now, this is my kind of town. If it doesn't have a brick and mortar downtown, I don't want it. But also, this supposed to be a high water area. Because if you notice when we did the glimpse past the graveyard, there it's all above ground vaults.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't even notice.
I don't know if that has anything to do with rain or not, but in California, we never get floods, and that's how the cemeteries are.
Interesting.
From what I heard, the vaults, which you're talking about, the mausoleums and the vaults, that's just usually well-to-do families that can afford better than the regular people.
No, it's like a regular graveside, but they're just like the shape of a coffin. There, it's just higher above ground, showing like half buried.
Gotcha.
And like especially down like by New Orleans and that there especially, or other areas that are prone to flooding or have very high water levels or water tables. They don't put them actually in the ground because the water seepage could destroy everything.
I remember that's what happened with Hurricane Katrina. It definitely, the water saturated a lot of the graves and it pulled the bodies out and they were all over the place. That was a nasty thing.
Yeah, that's why they do them mostly half buried.
Interesting. So here we have our first shot of our female lead, played by Shawnee Smith. It's Meg, and then we've got. Oh dear.
Yeah, I was more interested in watching the cheerleaders dance in the football game. I'll tell you that.
Well, of course, dude. So was I. And like, talk about props for this dude just being like taking a shot. Like, attaboy.
Hey, this guy was like our quarterback here at the semifinals. He got his ass knocked the F out. There.
Well,
dude,
he was distracted. He wasn't paying attention to the game, I'm guessing.
No,
well, see, and therein lies my issue.
No, he caught the ball, but then they tackled him into the water table there. Then he just looks at her and goes, "Hey, you doing anything tonight after the game?"
I mean, the dude took 3 dudes into a fucking plastic table, and he still has, like, enough wherewithal to ask the hot chick out on a date. I have respect. I get that. He's a lot better than the creeper friend right beside him.
No, he did that he's a little delirious. That's why he did it there.
Well, I did. Shut up, man. Okay, fine, whatever, but still. Yeah, no, I would be far too distracted by the cheerleaders myself. I agree, Gorilla.
Well, not there. No, but he was
like.
Well,
at least they were female. I mean, you guys haven't seen a game in California lately. It's terrible.
Yeah. No, but
okay.
Yeah, this guy ended up like our quarterback there in the semifinals. Like he got knocked out in the third quarter. There, they had to take him to the hospital.
See, and I like it because like here they're setting up. Oh my god! If PvP were here, he would know the dude's name. The lead in the first movie,
Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen. There we go. Yeah, right. Like so, they're emulating that Paul's going to be Steve McQueen. He's the jock. It looks like we're going to be following this guy, but all of a sudden, here comes Brian.
And I want to mention
the bad boy.
Yes, Steve McQueen's son, Chad McQueen, is also an actor, and he was offered this role, and he turned it down because they always said he didn't want to do anything that was involved with his dad or that was spun off from his dad or influenced by his dad. I guess he doesn't want to compete. So
that's understandable.
Yeah, and he does kind of look like Steve McQueen. That would have been an interesting choice.
right? And like, I personally like Kevin Dillon as an actor. Like, he's charming. It's weird. Like, both him and Shawnee Smith have that very stereotypical 80s look. Like, you know what I mean? The facial structure, the hair. There's a very distinct look to the 80s actors.
It's funny you mentioned that because the director insisted that both of them wear extensions. So that's why I
Really
stuck on. Yeah, that's why I froze on this frame. Is that long hair is fake, and you can tell by the way he moves that it's not his real hair. You can always tell when it's.
interesting.
Yeah, yes.
See, and it's funny because I didn't notice that. I noticed like when the miniatures and whatnot showed up later on in the movie. I'm like, that's a miniature and that's that. But it fooled me. So I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so yeah, we get Brian here. And it's funny because you can like there's the juxtaposition between like you can hear the screaming crowd for like the football players, and he's hearing it in his head too, and it's interplayed. But then his bike has mechanical issues, and he fucking bails and goes hard. And we have the bag man here. Did I not write down his name? He's
Right.
amazing. He's one of the best actors here. Like, it's funny because like in the first film, he gives Brian a standing ovation, and Brian takes it in turn. He's just like, you know what? Yeah, I biffed it. I ate shit, but whatever.
No, do you think that guy was serious there when he just started clapping, or was that being sarcastic?
I think he was just enjoyed the show.
Yeah. Oh, Jim says I've been editing. He also says thanks, Pop.
Oh, hell yeah, Jim. Attaboy. We'll be seeing some more Star Trek stuff, I'm assuming. And then here we have Pat. God damn it. It's,
I'm sure there's a lot of people yelling, yeah, that's the guy. And yes, you're right. It is the guy from The Walking Dead. The connection is Frank Darabont. Them two have been friends, and that's how he ended up getting the job on Walking Dead.
no way. Oh my God. It's the old, yeah, it is too. That's crazy. Awesome. See, and it's funny because like all of the cast are likable, even the dick cop, where you're just like, even he's understandable. The only person I don't like is the creeper, sexual assaulty Mr. Dude. I'm just like, oh,
Of course.
you. But we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
Totally.
The sheriff is asking the waitress at the diner out for a date, and she tells him that she's too busy. Because I guess somebody's listening, which I'm guessing might be the cook. And she hands him his tab, and she writes on the tab that I'll be off at 11, which means she is available. She just doesn't want to make it public, I guess.
I mean, there is lots of people, and they're all starting to pour in. I don't think she wanted to be like, oh, I'll see you at 11, blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe. I didn't, like, I kind of got the feeling that the cook liked the lady. God damn it, I'm going to have to look up her name.
Well, this is a small town. Word gets around. Like, this is the kind of town everybody knows when you take a shit. So,
dude, this is like my hometown. Like, it's like, yeah, I get it.
And nowadays, this cop here, we've gotten in trouble for harassing this guy telling him because he has a birthday coming up, it's no longer juvie for you, boy. I'll be keeping an eye on you, boy.
Well, yeah, but if you have a town where the sheriff, are you going to go to?
Well, exactly. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. It's it's like my town. You're just like, oh boy. Right. And of course, like it's like, you can tell that, we'll see later. He knows he's a punk, but he doesn't think he's like a legitimate troublemaker.
Right. Something really serious, right? He's a rebel, I guess. He's not a, they mentioned juvenile hall. They don't say why, but he's not really like a really bad guy. He's more like just a rebel. He's obviously modeled that
been there a couple
character,
times.
right? And he's obviously.
Yeah. Now, what were we saying, Pop?
That's all right. So here's where he's asking this mechanic here if he can borrow tools to fix his bike, and the guy said, "Sure, there's some sockets there. Make sure you bring them all back."
Well, he's like, "I got 12 in there. I better get 12 back."
And now we get to see him with the bum. I'm not gonna call him homeless because that's a stupid. Did you guys know that even California doesn't call him homeless anymore? It's houseless.
Oh,
How is that not the same thing?
No, homeless is derogatory and it's insulting. So now it's houseless. Typical California.
House and the home are the same goddamn thing, but whatever. I'm not going to argue semantics. Right? And so, talk about amazing practical effects immediately. I mean, this here, the dude would die from the shockwave. Like, the meteor hitting home, he'd be dead.
Yeah, you're definitely right, because it looked like it was only a few feet above his head.
well, not only that, a meteorite that size would cause a lot more damage.
Yeah, it would have knocked over a tree or two. I agree with that.
Oh,
And plus, of course, left that big crater.
it will have flattened everything for half a mile.
And I'm surprised that everybody in the town didn't see it. But,
Yeah.
in this case, only the old man saw it.
Yeah, but no, something that size was half a mile. Now, this laughed my ass. I laughed my ass off of this scene here.
God.
Predicted this. I predicted this part right here. Well, the part that's going to be coming up pretty soon.
But this is exactly what's wrong. Right. This is exactly what's wrong with living in a town where everybody knows each other.
No, and not only that, you got the priest showed up. I was laughing my ass off, but the thing with the pharmacist that's going to come in handy here in a couple scenes later, I predicted that part.
And I want to mention the priest here was in the 1972 movie Beware the Blob.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. Your condoms, regular or ribbed? Right in front of the priest.
Ribbed. Right. And it's funny because, like, I totally understand this guy's embarrassment, especially as a teenager, because it's like, yeah, you're hoping to get laid, but it's so embarrassing.
Right.
So when the preacher was asking, how come you haven't been to church lately?
I know, of course, right? And of course, he blames it on the other guy.
And just the look on the pharmacist's face.
There's also this scene reminds me of later on, but it was around the same time. There was an extremely hilarious scene in the Golden Girls around condoms in a pharmacy like that. So, but with the great Pat McCormick. And of course, just like the original, we had the old man investigating the crash scene. Of course, except this time he brought his dog with him.
Right? The dog knows what's up. It knows something's bad. And it looks awesome,
Absolutely.
right? Like the glowing, the pulsating, and then it, like, what we don't get to see here is that it slithers and moves for a second. So indicating he's just like, whoa, what the hell? And then out he pulls this fucking awesome prosthetic.
There it is. Yeah, it's pulsating and moving.
Right?
I almost feel like it should be green.
It was funny you mentioned that because they were considering making it green during the making of the movie because of outer space. But then they realized no, they liked blood, or they liked the red because they wanted to start off as almost transparent, and they get darker and darker the more people it consume.
Yeah, and welcome,
Right?
Cody
Like,
guy.
Oh, Cody,
Hey,
guy,
Cody
good
guy.
to see you. Hope you're doing well. Have a seat, sit back, enjoy yourself, and enjoy the stream, sir.
yeah, and it's funny because, like, if it was green, it would have looked just like a giant booger eating people. And I'm just like, oh, that's just, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Kind of gross, right?
I don't know if you guys remember, but they used to sell slime where you could buy it, and it was green. So it made it look a little too much like that stuff, like the store-bought stuff. There's lots of behind-the-scenes notes on the making of putting that slime together.
This kid's my hero. Like, he's...
Right, let me ask you guys a question about this. You got this kid with his mother, and his best friend is at his house. and they're talking about going in to see a movie called Garden Tool Massacre. And as soon as mom hears that, she's like, "Oh no, you guys are not going to watch that
Yeah.
movie."
Well, that's
My
because the kid
mom
was.
would have been like, "That sounds good. Let me know how it is." How about you guys?
No.
Well, depending on that age, they might have we might have watched it at home, you know. But the kid was completely stupid, asking his mother if he could go to it. They should have just lied from the beginning, so they didn't even question it.
Well, he didn't ask the mother. What he said the name to his friend, and the mother overheard it.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
they
no,
should
and
have
I
known by
personally
now.
wouldn't have been allowed.
You wouldn't have been allowed.
No,
See,
dude,
that's
I
just
was
it.
like
That's
super
why.
sheltered growing up.
Yeah, there's a lot of what, and that's good that even though you were sheltered, you still eventually came around and enjoyed horror movies. There's a lot of people that sheltered, and because they were sheltered, they still even now they're adults, they won't watch horror movies. There's a lot of people like that, and I find that it's sad. That's I think, a big genre that they're missing. But I know a lot of people that their parents wouldn't watch anything like that, and even they got older, they're like, "No, I don't like horror movies. I don't understand why people like horror movies." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." My mom took me to see The Exorcist when I was 9, and I was in love with horror movies ever since. And we went. I saw every David Cronenberg movie, starting with They Came From Within or Shivers, both at the same title, or two different titles of the same movie. But yeah, I never shied away from any horror movies. Doesn't matter how young or old I was, and I'm glad for that experience.
Yeah. Well, my kid's been really wanting to watch horror movies lately.
Good,
Like we just
Well, instead
because
of
the kids are. The thing is kids aren't dumb, and if the kid acts like they're starting to get scared, you tell them, "Honey, it's fake. It's make believe. It's like any other movie, like Star Wars. That's not real." So that's the problem when parents when they act this way towards horror movies. They're making it sound like there's some kind of sexual predator, and that makes kids fear the movies themselves. And I don't know.
yeah.
But
Well, I'm not gonna let him watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything, but I let him watch Five Nights at Freddy and Megan, and
yeah,
I'm a,
he's probably too young for the massacre. Yeah.
yeah. Which one would be better for him? The Creature from the Black? Because I told him I'm gonna introduce him to all the classics there. It's black and white, but you got to watch it. Which would be better, Creature from the Black Lagoon or the Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Well, are you sure he'll sit through it even though it's black and white?
Yeah.
Well, then I'd say Creature from the Black Lagoon. That way he has a monster to look at. I don't know if he'll catch the subtext with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That might bore him. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think about Nemesis?
He's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully he'll come back. But I think the monster in Creature from the Black Lagoon might allure him in, and then once I think he'll enjoy it, and then once he gets used to the black and white, yeah, then definitely eventually Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I just think that, like I said, he may not understand the subtext of Invasion of the Body Snatchers quite yet until he gets a little older.
Okay.
So it looks like her date's here, and she's all excited. Welcome
Yeah.
back, Nemesis. Nemesis, did
eh,
you, Nemesis, did you hear Gorilla's question?
no.
He wants to introduce his son to a black and white classic horror movie, and he was asking, what do we think he should introduce? Creature from the Black Lagoon or Invasion of the Body Snatchers? And I was thinking maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon because there's a monster that'll give him something to look at. I'm thinking he may not be old enough to understand the subtext of Body Snatchers. What do you think? I don't know.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm going to show my ignorance here, Pop. I haven't seen Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, then we need to
I've
cover it.
seen, yes, we do. I've seen Frankenstein.
Wait. I've seen a horror movie that you haven't.
This is, yeah. Well, note the date. My goodness, holy moly.
Pop, is this a lottery ticket worthy thing? Like Jill
Yeah, I
swearing?
know it, huh?
Or
I'm glad. I'm glad you've seen it, Gorilla. What did you think about it?
Oh, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, man, you know there's a total of 3 of those movies.
Oh, there is?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
If you really like the
should
Gorilla,
watch.
you should watch it with your son because you'll be able to add context and enjoyment with him versus something new that you don't know and could be crappy. Not saying that Invasion of the Body Strappers is crappy, but like you said, Pop, he might not understand the subtext to everything that's going on.
Right, and with Creature,
I think Creature is a better one.
Right, and with the Creature movie, he's got a monster. Monsters always
Yeah.
and interest them.
Hell yeah, monsters are. Well, I'm like I said, I'm a monster movie fan. That's why I picked the Blob. I like it. I prefer it over slasher films because
Oh yes, definitely.
Seeing it's
good example is that this is a perfect example. Is they really cared, and you can see they spent a lot of money on special effects. It wasn't like an afterthought where they just threw it together at the last minute.
Exactly. Like the monster is the focus of the film, even though all of the actors here are solid. Like the mom, she has a very bit part, but she is so convincing as a mom. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's just someone's mom. Totally. Even though it's an actor. And then here you go, Gorilla. This is the part you were talking about, right?
Yep.
Ribbed.
Yep. I'm predicting this part.
Daddy, I'd like you to meet my friend Paul.
Oh, too bad you can't play the look on the dad's face there. So as he sees him.
You didn't tell me your dad was a damn pharmacist.
Well, this small town, he should have known that.
Yeah, I guess
yeah, but he didn't know that the other dude was being a douche and being like, "Oh, these aren't for me. This is for my super horny friend who's going to take advantage of this naive girl over there." And I'm just like, "Wow, bro, wow." So yeah, it was miscommunication. Once again, a slime ball move by a slime ball. Like it's unsurprising. And this is beautiful with the. It builds the tension because you can see the dude. What we can't hear is the noises in the bushes. And so there's tension building because we know the Blob's out there. It's already attacked the one dude. Here we've got the homage to the couple in the first one.
Exactly, just like the first movie. I love it. It definitely sticks to it, which is a great thing. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention when we went to the credits at the beginning, but one of the producers was also the producer on the original movie. So he's actually still around, and he produced both movies.
Awesome. Well, that to me implies as to why it might be so faithful and such a good adaptation of the movie. It's because it's like, hey, I get to redo this movie basically with way better technology. Let's do it.
Exactly. And I just keep thinking if they made this now, it would be so woke. She would, the girlfriend, she would be ordering everybody around, the men would all be dumb. I don't even want to think about it. I just hate the way they make movies now.
Yeah, but that's why we've got these movies that we can still look back on, right? Like we've got decades and decades of awesome movies. Like, and time will pass. This is gonna pass. Like, give it time, and we'll be able to move past it. But for now, we have movies that we can look back on, like this, where he's being super polite and he's like, hey, by the way, yeah, this dude was in an accident. She's like, hold on, please. And I'm just like, man, as an MOA, that's really frustrating.
It is because there's nobody else there. And she's nobody else there, and she's just racking through paperwork.
Yeah, these doctors should be get sued for negligence there when they got someone coming in for an emergency there, and they don't even bother helping them. They just put them in a room.
Right, but if anybody's been in a regular hospital, you've always got people coming in. It's an emergency, and then you find out they just stubbed their toe. So I think that they just are underestimating the situation at this point.
I think, and once again, it's a small town hospital, right? Like there might not necessarily even be an emergency room. Like it could just be a front desk with like.
No, their hospitals. Their hospitals about as big as ours. There, we always have nurses coming in, at least checking on you, make sure you're okay. if it's not that big of an emergency, yeah, you might have to wait a little while there. But if something like this, yeah, he would be getting help right away.
What do you mean? They don't even know what it's about. Like, anyways,
when they told her, when they said that there was a car accident, they told her that, and it's emergency. Yeah, she should have gotten up, walked around the desk, and went to go look at the guy.
Well, it's not that, dude. I'm not supposed to go and check on the patient and be like, there's liabilities and whatnot. But we're getting past that, breezing past this.
Right. Well, I understand that she's a receptionist and not a nurse. And of course, they show here that he's having to fill out like 50 forms in triplicate, of course.
Right? Because she's like, does he have Blue Cross? Does he have anything? Here, you have to fill out all of this paperwork for this transient homeless guy that you hit. It's like, oh, awesome. Okay.
And he's apologizing.
But once again, I was just going to say that she's a keeper. He's like, yeah, first date. Sorry about that. And she's like, it's, whatever. Like,
hey, it's a date you'll never forget.
That's true. Yeah, most certainly.
And he offers her a soda, and she says, sure, anything diet.
Emphasis on the die. And then once again, reminiscent of the Thing, we see movement underneath the blanket. That's what elicits his response as to like, because they put him down, they checked his pulse and whatnot. They're like, okay, we'll have a doctor come in and check on you shortly. And by that point, the dude's dead, right? Like he's being absorbed. Like his whole lower half has been eaten by the blob.
Yeah.
And also the first movie too. Yeah. Go ahead, Gorilla.
And welcome D. Oberg. Says, Hail, just joining the stream now. Starting from the beginning, watching at 2x. What I love about this movie is Shawnee Smith. Yum, yum.
I agree.
Agreed, D. Oberg.
Yeah, glad you could join us. I hope you enjoy yourself tonight. But also, when you see that love moving under the blanket, that's also reminiscent of the first movie. It's just this is done
right.
This is done as an homage to the first movie, but done a little differently, which is nice.
Yeah, there's.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there are beautiful right here, like beautiful. He's like, and that would freak me the fuck out. Be like, okay, this dude's clearly dead, and holy shit, like.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'm not a screamer when it comes to like scary situations, but that's probably one where I would elicit something, hopefully. And like once again, the doctor's just like, okay. So here we go. There he is.
That's Eraserhead, yes.
Okay, amazing.
What's in Eraserhead?
He stars in the movie Eraserhead. We mentioned it a couple times. We will be covering it on this stream eventually. That's going to really test your patience, Gorilla.
Oh, dude, is it ever going to test your patience? Because it's funny because you're like, oh, what about a black and white movie? I'm like, oh, you should make him watch Eraserhead. And I'm like, no, don't do that. That'll ruin him for life.
Right, you can see right there the look on his face. He still looks the same, almost a little older. And you take away that mustache and you give him that high top hair, and he still looks almost the same.
Dude, straight up. Now that I know who it is, 100%.
Yeah, I picture him looking down at his baby, and it's like, yeah, that's the same guy. And we get the reveal. Yeah, I think the problem is more than his hand now at this point. But and
awesome.
Also, right, and another thing that they decided when they made this movie that they changed up from the original is this blob. Not only does it eat people like the original, but it's more acidic. So it's similar to like the blood of the alien in the Alien movies. So that's why we get the actual burning of the acid and things like that.
Right, and it's acidic, but it's acidic to certain things, right? You notice how the table's not melted. You notice how the ceiling doesn't melt.
Well, not yet.
It's acidic to flesh.
Right, but we'll see what it does to objects here really soon.
But I would argue that it affects biological objects.
Right. Well, watch this.
But it just uses more power. Okay. I'm watching. Oh yeah, that's right, because it drips on the thing.
It burns the table, right? It's because it's right above his
That's
head.
right. Yeah. And what? Yeah, here we go. We don't get to
Right there.
right there. Yeah. Okay. Which is like a little bit of an inconsistency because like it doesn't do that to a lot of stuff.
Well, I know it doesn't do it to the wall, right? It shows it climb up the wall. The wall so it doesn't seem to be affected. Maybe it's like
Right.
saliva. Maybe it's like right before it's ready to pounce is when it has the acidic um, properties. Right before it
That
pounces,
would
like kind of like saliva. Does that make sense?
right. Well, I think so because like we'll get into what this creature is later on in the movie when they reveal it. For now, we don't know what it is. It's an unknown life form, but for sure because it clearly senses that Peter is there or Paul is there. Sorry, like and boom, we get the iconic shot right here. And it's awful, right? Because like not only is he like trying to push against it, but every time he moves against the blob, it's stripping away more flesh, it's stripping away more muscle because it's sliding and like caressing over him, ripping the flesh and absorbing it into him like that right there. So you're trying to get out and you're doing more damage to yourself. Like you can't escape this thing. It's beautiful. It's
It is.
what a horrific design.
It is excellent scene, and her reaction is appropriate. And the actor did say when they filmed the scene, it was almost impossible to breathe. Obviously, he had to hold his breath during that scene. Excellent. I love it.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Right. So
right? Like, and then
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Bob.
I was just gonna say she pulls his arm loose, which separates, and which makes her fall back and hit her head on the wall.
Yeah, beautiful practical effect shot. And like once again, why did the creature not eat her? I don't know. Plot
It was on its way out the window. Right, I thought about that too, but it was already on its way out the window when she discovered Paul. So I think it was already on its way somewhere else, and then what she saw was the tail end of it, I'm guessing.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it has a front or a back, but they did show it going out the window.
It was heading in a direction. Whether it was heading in a direction with purpose, dragging Paul with it and absorbing him all the while.
Right, and just like the original movie, we have the sheriff who's level-headed, and then we have the younger guy who's gung-ho.
Right, and it's more of like, at least this one, it's not like, oh, a teenager killed my wife, so I hate all of them. It's more like, I don't like you because I've had to deal with you a bunch of times, you little prick. I feel like, once again, as Gorilla was saying, this is such a small town that it's, it's like, oh, hi, officer, blah, 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 good to see you again. Couldn't use the front door, asshole. Like, we've done this a million times.
Right, and the sheriff says, "I'm a son of a bitch who did this," still thinking it's a human that did it, just another person. And of course, they're actually thinking it's Kevin Dillon. But yeah, how's a kid gonna do that kind of damage? But
right, like
you're not gonna. It's like real life. You're not gonna have cops suddenly say, "Oh my God, it's a monster. What do we do?" So yeah, they're gonna start looking for practical excuses first.
Right, because as far as they know,
go ahead.
It's like they have an old dude who's like been melted by acid, and they have Paul whose hand has been melted by acid. They don't know what's going on. The girl's hysterical. Sorry. You're right. Well, exactly. They're like, we can't talk to her until morning. She's hysterical right now, and she's like, "This is what I saw," and they're like, "Yeah, no, okay." And let's face it, guys. Would anyone believe him? If I came to you, Pop, and I was like, "Pop, some giant blob thing just ate my boyfriend and like melted him away," would you believe me?
Of course not. I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm sure something happened to him, but you probably just saw something else and your mind's filling in the blanks."
Hey, how much are you paying me to believe you? How much are you paying me to believe you?
It's one of those situations. I mean, okay, as much as I need to, Gorilla, at the cheapest amount. And so
So what do
here
you
we
guys?
have Mr. Sleazeball. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, right. What do you guys think about this date mobile? This guy's car. What's your opinion about this?
Ugh. I mean, on the one hand, I mean, like, I appreciate the setup and like the scheme, and it would work, but in like, and once again, this would work in a giant city, maybe, aside from, sexual assault aside, the whole setup to get her in the mood could work. But if it's like a small town, as we're saying, like, this could work on the first girl, maybe, and then everyone's
Maybe.
going to know your shtick.
Right, and at least it's only alcohol. At least it's not any kind of pills or drugs or anything like that. At least
Well, do you not see? Well, he like quadruples the amount of booze into the girls' drink as he does for himself.
Right.
So, like, there is very much intention as to what he's going to do. You can see, like, he's like, there's a lot of heavy breathing going on in the scene coming up where he's like, oh, he's like eyeing her up. Like, it's very uncomfortable. You're just like, oh dear. And he's like, oh, it's awfully hot in here, sweetie. Better undo your top. And you're just like, oh no. And then he goes to cop a feel. And I mean, like, in any other movie, that's kind of a lot worse would happen. But I mean, he gets his recompense in this scene. And what we didn't see, or we did kind of see, was the grass moving while he's making the drink and whatnot. And the doors open. So that's how the blob has gotten in. So Cindy's already dead. Right? Like, we can already tell right here she's either, well, I mean, it looks like she's unconscious, but she's not breathing. So
we know something's wrong. We're just not quite sure how they're going to reveal it.
Yeah.
And of course, he's complimenting her on her blouse like he really cares. Must be hot though, huh? Now, if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but her wearing this ring around her neck, doesn't it mean her boyfriend is somebody else, right? Does that mean she's wearing a ring and obviously must not be this guy?
It's supposed to be his, but he has like 100 of them in his trunk.
It's his grad ring.
For every high school.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is my ring, but I gave it to you, so you're my girl, type of thing. But he has a dozen of them, like Gorilla said.
Well, he seems to be so pleased with himself, doesn't he?
Oh, God, it's just so, you're just like, And then he's all like, oh, Cindy, what's going on here?
And she says,
and she's all like, amazing pop. And then, yeah, it's amazing because the tentacles come out of her eye sockets and whatnot in the mouth, and he's like freaking out, and it's already wrapping up his arm. Like, it's a beautiful death scene for a pervert. Like,
yeah, I don't know why, but I like car death scenes in these movies. Have you ever seen the original Maniac Nemesis?
No.
Oh, yeah, we're going to cover that one of these days.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
They remade it. The remake was okay, but the original was a lot more grimier, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's always good to see the original first.
Oh, grimy. Yeah, that's... Ugh. See, and yeah, once again, like, I wasn't allowed to watch scary movies. Like, I'll put it to you how sheltered I was. I was not allowed to watch Rugrats because one of them talked nasty to each other. So, like, I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies or anything like that. So I remember, once again, tuning into very key scenes. And I always have the weirdest luck when it comes to horror movies. But I'm getting off topic. So, yeah, so we have the mom here. She doesn't believe her.
Right. Nobody does, right? The police. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. She says the police will have it settled by morning, and the daughter is like, yeah, right. Just like the first movie. They don't
exactly,
really
and it's
a monster. Yeah.
Right, and this is what Steve McQueen was in the first movie, because his dad was the pharmacist, and right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're like, here, you gotta blah, 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 and he'll be fine. So it's just like... But here we see the big reveal that she didn't take the sleeping pills like the other girl did in the first movie.
Exactly. Like, who the hell wants to sleep after seeing something like that?
I mean, oh, dude, like, can you imagine the dreams you would have?
Oh, I know it.
And then we get, once again, just a beautiful shot, like, showing that, once again, the ring didn't melt,
No, the ring didn't
right?
melt.
So there are certain objects that it can't melt.
Right. And here, of course, they're grilling him. They don't believe what he says. They think he has something to do with it. But remember now, he wasn't there to witness the whole thing. He left the hospital. So all he knows is the old man with the blob on his hand. So, of course, he's denying it. And of course, with the casting, of course, they hired a guy that he looks like a dick. Not only is he a dick, but he looks like a dick.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because, like, once again, it's a kind of an inverse of the original Blob, where the girl's being the Steve McQueen, where her parents are checking on him, whereas, like, this guy is being the girl, because she's like, she only ever saw the hand. She only ever saw the old man with the hand, and then Steve was the one who saw the hospital doctor getting eaten.
Yes.
Whereas it wasn't the doctor who gets eaten in this one, it's Steve, or Paul, sorry.
Paul.
Yeah. And so here we go. Yeah, once again, like, right? He's like, oh, and it's funny because, like, the kid's like, oh, you know, the police officer's like, yeah, your mom's a drunk and she goes home with anybody. And he's like, oh, look at me, I'm a broken man. Like, he's fucking super sassy in this movie. I really like it. Like, he's just like, I really like Brian as a character. Like, I just do.
Right.
The rebel without a cause. I have a problem with authority.
And you can see that she liked that look she gave him earlier. She likes that tough boy attitude. They always seem to get the girls.
Well, and it's funny because, like, she was more interested, once again, Paul was her boyfriend, like, she was more interested in him, and she was already dating someone else.
Yes. Yeah, but they eventually
right?
had the football game, right? She was seeing somebody else, right?
Yeah, and he's like, well, I don't want to take a chance because, like, isn't she dating someone? She's like, yeah, it's going nowhere there, man. Just throw your shot in. So, I mean, he did. Once he got his nights, or he got, all it took was a little, you know, slight brain trauma to get her to ask her out on a date, and which was ultimately the worst thing he could do because he died. And so here we have, okay, Fran. Fran is her name. And Fran is a sweetheart, once again.
Yes.
And so we have, oh, were you going to say something?
Nope. Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, I was laughing at this. They're obviously close, but she'll still make them a damn sandwich.
Well, I think
that's because Fran.
Well, what on a first name basis? Because he said Fran, so she does know him, and maybe she knows about his family life, and so she kind of sympathizes with him because from what they said about his mother.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's more of what's going on. Is she has a soft spot for him, right? Like, because you go on later, she's like, "Well, here you go," and then she gives the girl sandwich too, because she's like, she says it's like, "Oh, it's the last 2 slices. I'm gonna throw it out. Better eat it." But in reality, that's just like the motherly instincts kicking in, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because, like, he starts off as a jerk. Because, I mean, I understand, like, he's like, you haven't talked to me for 3 years in high school, and now all of a sudden we're best friends. Like, you want to be, we're all besties. I don't understand.
Well, you probably think about,
but he like
it like he probably didn't talk to her. He probably didn't talk to her because he thought she was unobtainable. But sometimes a lot of times women don't get that. They don't understand why men don't approach them. It's because sometimes, you know, in a lot of cases, if they're beautiful, a lot of men think they're unobtainable, and they don't want to be let down and disappointed, so they don't approach them.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to rewatch that because sorry, I was getting distracted by a bunch of people screaming on a bus that just got like let out outside my house. Fucking drama.
Well, they're having a good time. It's either that or it's a brawl.
Oh my god, yeah, something. I'm not going outside to check it out. And here you go, right? Like where like that plays in later in the movie
Yes.
where Fran gives him the number and they're going to meet up for the date. And here we got kitchen life, right? The sink is backed up again, and it's just like, oh my god. Anyone who's worked in the kitchen has had to deal with this, and it's fucking awful.
Yes, old clog drain, unfortunately.
Oh, that's why we had a garbage disposal and all that. But we never had a drain problem that bad.
It all depends on like who's shoving what down the sink, right? Like in this case, unfortunately, it's once again the metal pipes don't melt. So metal, it can't melt through metal. It can morph around it because it's an amorphous blob, but it can't melt through metal, which seems to be an interesting concept. And it can't melt through glass either.
Yeah. Now I got a question. Like, how did they do this scene here with him?
What do you mean?
Well,
like that part? How did they do that? Yeah, I don't know how they did that. Because, like, you can see his head getting sucked into that tight little hole, and you're just like, well, I mean, the dude's dead. Like, there's no...
Yeah, that had to be right there.
Like,
very, very painful, I imagine.
Yeah, painful but quick, though, because it's just like melting, your brain's gone, so there should be nothing to feel pain. And then, like, we have this amazing scene right here. Oh, George. His name is George. Okay.
This is her
sorry,
mind being blown, right?
Dude, can you imagine walking into this just being like, what the fuck? Because it's not like it's a food processor or anything. This is just like supposed to be a slop sink. Right? Like the hand and both the feet are going, and you're just like, oh my god, amazing.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. I love it.
Right? And it's, oh, dude, it's so good. And like the pipes are bulging out due to the mass. Because, like, once again, the acid's not bulging through, but it's getting bigger due to just absorbing that guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So now, Gorilla, when you're talking about, like, did you also, like, because this shot here, I feel like they shot in reverse.
We did. Right? It's supposed to look like it's on the ceiling, but obviously they turn the camera around, right?
Yeah. And it's like there's some obvious green screening in here, but still really solid for the effect. Like, it's awesome. And here we have an homage, well, basically an homage to the first movie.
The original.
Yeah.
Right. When they made this, they did consider doing CGI, but very wisely they said, well, CGI is still in its infancy. It's not going to look realistic, so let's do all practical effects. So that was another blessing. Now,
which is great.
Yeah,
and then
CGI. Yeah. Go ahead.
Wait, are you telling me that part right there wasn't CGI, Pop? That was all practical effects?
Correct. Let me show you exactly. Watch.
Okay.
We can get a good glimpse of it. They said to be specific, the only time they use CGI was when the blob is frozen and when you see any glistening off of it. The glistening is the CGI, but definitely not the blob itself.
Okay, cool. And it's funny because, like, when we get to the crystals, they're all formed in specific shapes, and I wasn't able to find out what the shape is called. It looks like a quartz crystal, though.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, this is
because when you look at them, oh my gosh, dude, right? Like, I remember seeing this as a kid, and it's just like, talk about horrifying. So here we have Fran desperately trying to call the police chief.
Sheriff, right? So don't worry, he'll be around any minute.
Well, because he's already left to go check on. What we get from the telephone operator is that he's gone to the diner to check on her. So, I mean, hopefully he should show up pretty quick here and save her.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. You would think. Yeah.
Right, and once again, so I'm wondering, is that like, because it knows something's in there, can it sense the heat? Can it sense the vibrations? They don't really explain it, which is kind of nice. Leave it up to a little bit of mystery of how it hunts.
That's true. That's true.
And of course, we have rotary phones back in a telephone booth. Like,
I tried to
and
get
this is
to see
tense.
what
It's
he said.
traumatic. Yeah,
I'm trying to
she's trying to get
right.
Herb.
Trying to get Herb. Poor Herb.
Oh man, right? No, I'm all for trying to get Herb, but like, and I mean, props to Herb. Like Herb Geller, he's
There
been
you
down.
go.
Oh, there he is. See, he's checking in on her. He filled his promise.
Great reveal.
So he's dead now?
Definitely dead, yes. And I like the fact they don't show him how he died or whatever. That's reveal of him being dead. I love it. Don't waste any time.
Right? Like it's great. It's fantastic. It's a shocking reveal because you're like, oh my god. And like just the way like the face moves and melts and like the eye comes out of its socket and you're just like, oh my god. And she's just fucking horrified too.
Oh,
As you would be.
First the cook and now this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and knowing that's going to be you in a few seconds. Like the only thing that's holding you from that fate is the thin plastic glass panels on that telephone booth.
And that, I don't know why, but that reminds me of the scene from The Birds. I want to.
Which is funny because
right here.
D. Oberg says the phone booth reminds me of The Birds. Indeed, D. Oberg.
Oh.
Indeed.
Yeah, welcome PvP.
Great.
Hi, Gorilla.
Yep,
Hi,
great
guys.
minds think alike. Hello, PvP. Good to see you.
Nice. Oh, yeah, good to be here. Good to see you guys too. Well, I guess you're what, about halfway through the movie? It looks like something like that.
Yeah, about halfway.
Oh.
Exactly halfway.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
started a
at least
half
I
hour
didn't miss
early.
that.
I started a half hour late, so I was trying to kind of get it through at a pretty good
Yeah, I was
pace.
kind of glad you did. Oh man. Yeah, I saw the first 2/3 of the film last night, and then my internet decided to quit. So I haven't
that's
seen
no
the last
fun.
30 minutes yet. Yeah, but I'll pick it up by watching the stills here, I'm sure.
What
I
did you
watched
think about
enough
what you
to get.
saw?
I thought the first 2/3 were really good. I enjoyed them.
Great.
Yeah, good practical effects, some really mind-boggling stuff, actually. So, I mean, I'm not a big horror guy, you know that, but it's good. It's good. I mean, I don't mind gore films if they're well done and they have a half decent storyline, you know, that isn't just stupid, right? So,
Not like a snuff film. In other words, like not a snuff film where it's just gore for the heck of it. Like Saw,
yeah,
I guess, right?
where it's just teenagers, you know, getting it on for the first time, and they die a horrible, miserable death. It's like I don't find that really appealing, to be honest. So it's like I think I'll pass on that stuff.
Well, it's your age, PvP, because it's funny because like I used to be into that too. I would love the Friday the 13th films, and now as like even at like 30 years old, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. But as like a teenager, I'm like, yeah, totally, right? Sex, drugs, murder, gore. It was great.
Yeah, I think it was in my early 20s when Friday came out. So I guess maybe even at that point I was a little bit too old. Of course, my sick friends all loved it, but I was just sitting there bored to tears through most of the film.
I was bored.
But it's more personal taste. So, Pop, sorry, before we skip past this scene, this is very important because this sets up for a potential sequel in the future, and it also gets to the part where we were talking about crystalline shapes and what the blob could possibly be.
Right. And it might be like the thing where you can freeze it, but as soon as you thaw it out, it comes back to life.
Yeah, and well, I think that's exactly what happens because they're like, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, don't.
Well, they
don't
even mentioned
try
that
and
in the
avoid
original
the
movie.
last bit.
Right, that's why the original movie they dropped it off in Antarctica. They were assuming that it would thaw out and come back to life. By the way, Shawnee Smith, I can't remember the name of her character, but the star of the movie here.
Meg.
Meg, thank you. The
welcome.
producers of the Saw franchise, they saw her in this, and that's why they hired her for Saw. So she's one of the main heroine of the I think the first Saw movie or the first couple.
Huh.
Oh no way! She's the reverse bear trap girl.
Her, yes.
Crazy.
Because,
Okay.
yeah, because they saw her in this movie and they were impressed. They enjoyed it. Look at those shoulder pads.
Well, this was the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
looks
people
like
still
the
wear
80s.
shoulder pads. I don't know why.
I never knew why they wore them in the first place, but that's just me, I guess. Yeah, I don't get it. Good
So once
acting.
again, yeah, for sure. It's making here. We're thinking originally, it might be aliens, but no, big reveal. It's the government. Maybe.
That's the twist, right? It was different from the original movie. Of
This
the
must
evil
be
government.
this must be about the time my internet decided to go away because I don't remember these dudes. So I
Oh,
guess
so
I
we're
didn't see.
Oh, and
halfway through.
Yeah, I didn't see quite as much as I thought I did. I guess. Oh well.
oh, Gorilla or PvP, dude, you missed like the best parts of the
Oh
movie.
sure.
Like,
Oh, I'll just have to
oh man,
rewatch it. I'll have to rewatch
yeah,
it. Maybe if I have time tomorrow night after work, I probably would have a chance then. Hopefully, so.
Yeah, we don't want
Yeah.
to spoil it for you.
No, that's okay.
I
That's
mean,
okay.
even
Same
seeing
here.
stills of it aren't going to do justice. Like, yeah, yeah, highly recommend you finish it off, PvP.
Yeah, I will certainly try to do that. Yeah.
And once again, so here we have an awesome potential antagonist in the Doctor. He's fantastic, and he plays it really well because, like, he comes off as almost Morgan Freeman-esque, where you're just like he's soft and gentle, and
Right. And we get our exposition scene where he explains what's going on. Of course, pieces everything together for us, the audience.
right, the explanation as to what's going. Well, I mean, all the dinosaurs died out overnight. What could that have been? Well, I think I thought it was a meteor.
Right, which is so unbelievable because in real life, obviously, they wouldn't explain shit to us. They would we either be locked up or they would just get us out of there. They're not going to stand there and explain. But oh well, it's a movie.
Well, they
Right.
feed you a bullshit story is what they do.
Well, that
Hey,
too, yeah.
if you believe a guy gets sucked down a drain head first, if you can believe that, I think these guys aren't that far fetched.
Oh,
I
that's true.
love the meta aspect of this scene alone, where they're all like, "Oh my god, isn't it a little late for for Buddy to be hedging or trimming the hedges? Maybe he's a peeping tom." She's like, "Oh, let's give him something to watch." And he's like, "Oh, it's not hockey season." Dun dun dun. And then it pans out, and we're in the movie theater,
No
Yes.
thank.
and it's just like, "Fuck yeah!"
So is this like a satire of Friday? I'm wondering.
In a way,
oh,
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And then we got the asshole in the hilty hat, and you're just like, "Fuck, god damn
So
it!"
we get to reveal that the two boys went to see the movie anyway, regardless
Yeah.
of what the mother said. So, yeah, there they are.
Yeah, that kind of guy in the asshole. I was glad he got. Or oops, I can't spoil it, but
Well, don't worry. I'm sure more people are going to die. I don't
Well,
think it's going to
he's-
turn
What?
into.
No. No one else dies in the film. PvP. It's
Yeah.
that's a PG film from here on out. 100%.
No,
It turns
this
into a
is-
romantic comedy, right?
this is the kind of guy.
You
that
got it.
This is the kind of guy that pisses me off in the movie theaters, spoiling it ahead of what happened, spoiling the whole movie.
Yeah, or people who talk through the film on their cell phones or something to their friends. That drives me nuts. That's why I usually don't go to theaters very often anymore. That's one reason why. Plus, the movies generally suck, but
Well, and I mean, like these kids have snuck into the movie thanks to the one kid in the orange fucking yellow jacket there. His brother's
was
the
the
usher, so
What was the first Star Wars sequel?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Empire.
Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace.
Oh,
Yep.
you mean
I'm talking about trilogy. That's right, trilogy.
you're talking about
Okay.
prequels?
Like, yeah, I guess they were prequels. But when I went to see the Phantom Menace, right in front of me there was this really fat kid, and he had a birthday hat on, and he
Oh,
was
no.
surrounded by other kids, and all he did was all through the movie. And I said, "You better shut your fat fucking mouth, or I'm gonna go down and slap your fucking head off." And then what happened was, they're stinking. His mother had dropped off all the kids, and there was no parent with them. So they were raising
lovely.
hell all through the fucking movie, and they drowned it out. So it totally raised, even though the movie's bad in the first place, it ruined the whole experience for me. And when the movie ended, we walked out into the lobby, and then the mother comes walking in the doors, and she walks up to the kids. There you are, and I said, yelled out as loud as I could, clear across the lobby. I said, "There's that fucking bitch. That's that fat pig's mother. She needs to be bitch slapped to hell."
Oh boy.
And
Tell us how you really feel, Pop.
That's good,
my,
Pop.
my my two
Not
friends
holding
that were
back.
with me were dragging me out. My two friends were dragging me out because I was just getting started.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is annoying. I remember. I think when
Anyways, guys, we should move past this and get on with the movie.
D.
Sorry about that.
I love this
No.
part when the movie melts.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really good effect because it goes. Well, we'll get there in a few seconds. Because it's an homage to the first
guy
part,
right
or
there.
in the first movie, right? Go ahead, Pop.
That redneck, the redneck right there, by the way, is one of the producers of the movie. But the burning effect on the screen is actually an homage to the movie The Tingler. And another thing I wanted to mention. Yes, another thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if there's any Stephen King fans here, but apparently the people who made this movie, Chuck Russell, was a Stephen King fan. So apparently I don't recognize it because I'm not a Stephen King fan. But apparently there's a lot of homages in this to The Stand. In fact, Shawnee Smith stars in the, I think, TV version.
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
Wouldn't.
Same
Yeah.
here.
never seen it, never read the book. Not
And I
really
don't care.
interested.
Same here.
Yeah, I have no
Right?
love of Stephen King.
And that fucking blonde kid, man, like, once again, my spirit animal in the movie, like, he's like, "Oh man, we're going to see the slasher horror film," and like, "Oh, check out the body on the blonde, man." I'm like, "Oh, you."
Oh, back in the days when they had projectionists. I always wanted to be one when I was a kid.
Yeah, so did I. And then I found out it's exactly like this, where it's just like you get to see the same movie a billion times. And it's
Right,
just like,
same
oh no.
movie. Pays minimum wage, job goes nowhere, right?
It's hot as
Yeah.
hell. You're not allowed to leave.
Yeah,
Now it's all
probably would've been a
DVD,
lot of
so
fun.
they don't have to worry about it.
That's true.
D. Oberg
Apparently the
says,
original
yes,
script-
Shawnee Smith. Nope. I was just saying, D. Oberg says, yes, Shawnee Smith is in the TV version of The Stand.
Very cool.
Yes.
In the original script, this guy was supposed to have a monkey with him, and the monkey was supposed to jump into that air conditioning duct trying to escape, and then the blob pulls it in.
Amazing. But I mean, this works better because it's like, once again, a classic POV shot. And like, I don't know, as someone who does ductwork for a living, that's some interesting insides of a ductwork. I don't know, maybe that's what it looked like in the 80s, but it looked pretty
Clean?
Fake. Yeah, well, no, clean. Ducks can be clean. And then a beautiful reveal that we're not real. There we go.
That's hilarious.
I got that yo-yo in the hand. I love it.
That's so good. That's so good. That's one thing I really liked about this film too, is the little touches of comedy, throughout it. Every little bit, a little bit here and there once in a while, just sprinkled on like seasoning,
Oh, totally, right? And like,
and just stand there under it looking up. Yeah, it's like, that's a smart thing to do.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Like, I would probably freeze in place and like not be able to perceive what I was seeing, and by that point, the tentacles have already grabbed me, and I'm screaming in terror as I'm getting sucked into the blob. Right? You're seeing an eldritch abomination, and you're just like, oh my god. Let alone your friend being melted into it, and you're just like, what the? Yeah, it's. Right. I get it.
Well, there would be that period of shock where you're just standing there not knowing what to do, or your mind's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, almost everybody in the film seems to do that when the blob, devours them. So, but I think the blob seems pretty fast too, right? I mean, it seems a lot faster than the original blob.
Yes, I'd say it's more aggressive and faster.
Which is, well, once again, we'll talk on that later once we get to that reveal point. Okay. But yes, as a predator, it is certainly getting bigger, faster, and stronger.
I just wondered, is all of this practical effects, or were there some scenes of the Blob that were CGI'd?
Practical.
Pop?
Practical.
Because
I'll point out the CGI when we get to the end.
and there's just a few
There,
times, like when Candy Clark got eaten in the telephone booth. That I kind of wondered how would they
Practical.
actually do that in real practical effects. Like it seemed like it would be quite difficult, but I could be
Well,
wrong.
it was, but it was practical. That's why it looked so realistic. Yeah, they would
That's
have been able to
amazing.
pull off, especially for the '80s. It would not have looked that good if it had been the CGI. That's why they
That's
decided not to
true.
use CGI. They knew it was in its infancy.
That's a good point,
yeah.
actually. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, yeah,
Back
dead
then,
on
they knew
point,
when to
actually.
hold. Right. Back then, they knew when to hold back.
Mm. By the way, I
Well,
just
they
want to
used
mention.
it to enhance the film where they couldn't use practical effects versus like we're just going to do everything.
Like
By the way,
now,
I just want
right?
to
It's like,
quickly mention Candy Clark was still smoking hot in this movie as the waitress. I always had a
oh
big
yeah,
crush on Candy Clark.
Oh, there's actually a
oh yeah, dude.
handful of girls. There's actually a handful of girls in this movie that were Playboy centerfolds.
Cool.
In fact, one of them became a
What?
centerfold after the movie.
Right? Like most of the women are attractive. Like even the mom's fine. And then here comes
Oh
the other
yeah.
mom. Like, and I've seen her in other movies, and I don't know what. I didn't look up the actress's name, unfortunately. And here we go. At least the dad's coming in and providing distraction, being like, "I'm not, no, like, yeah." Being the classic, I'm your taxpayer. I pay your wage.
So the Chad.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. And D-Berg says, yes, Shawnee Smith is in the TV version of The Stand. And he goes, the part of the government reminds me of the Amadora strain bringing a space virus to Earth.
The
Andromeda.
Andromeda strain.
Andromeda strain.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Michael Crichton book, I believe it was.
Way to
Yes.
spoil it, D. Jeez, bro. We were waiting on that.
Well, I'm sure if you aren't familiar with it by now, it's like 1972 or something. Come on.
88, bro. Jeez, man.
What? Andromeda
Yep,
strain.
88.
The original, I think.
Oh,
Was
no.
earlier than that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You
I was
guys
talking about this movie. I don't know when the Andromeda
Yeah.
strain was.
Early 70s.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
believe.
you guys are talking about two different things.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we are.
back to the main topic of the film, I guess.
Hell yeah. So,
Andromeda Strain is a movie that most audiences would not be able to sit through these days because you have to use your brain through most of it. It's not action packed like we're accustomed to now.
That's why it's so damn good, though. It's a really great movie.
It is.
hang on. Did we jump back in the movie?
It's all in your
What
head.
happened?
It's all in your head.
No, because
Oh,
the sheriff is dead.
You did jump back.
Okay. I'm like, hang on. I'm like, Herb's dead.
Oh, the media player's got a mind of its own again tonight, Pomp.
Yep. There we go. Theater running amok. I don't know if we get the obligatory stampede scene or not. Ooh, I love it.
Awesome. Hell yeah. That was a beautiful effect.
Yucky.
And what we didn't get to see, because we skipped past it a little bit, is the Blob has grabbed like 5 people and it's absorbed all of them in like a matter of seconds. So like,
Yes.
and it doesn't
Right.
take much. Like that lady only had a little bit smeared on, I don't know, maybe it was just a mucus trail left by the Blob, and she like, because she's just melting to the floor. It's not melting into the Blob. She's just melting.
Right, and I love it when they show the Blob and you can see all the legs and arms sticking out of it. Looked fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. At that point,
kind of reminds me of the Carpenter's The Thing movie, actually, when I think of the bodies and parts and all the gross bits and pieces.
I love that it's popping out the
right
balls.
up to this point, the Blob has eaten 16 people.
I'm glad you
I'm
kept
gonna
the
grab
tally, Nemesis.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab.
Oh, I kept count.
Nemesis
Yeah, buddy.
has his pen out with the death list, just checking them off one at a time, checking them off.
Well, I mean, someone's going to do it, right? Like
Hey, I do appreciate your thoroughness on these reviews, actually. I really do.
Thank you, PvP. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Hey, it makes it more fun. Makes it more fun, man.
Well, I mean, especially when it comes to monster films, I really enjoy the monster films, and like I picked this one, so I feel like I should definitely be contributing. Like, it's it's one of my favorite movies. Like, this is an excellent. Like, if it's like, even if you haven't seen the '50s Blob, it's great as a standalone film. You don't need to have seen the '50s version of this movie.
Oh, definitely
Like,
not.
it's
Definitely not. Yeah. Actually, the 50s movie pales in comparison to this film. It really does.
right, and I mean, like, I understand why everyone wanted to watch it first because lots of people love the original, and I understand and appreciate the original for what it is. But like, this to me is the epitome of the Blob. Like,
Oh, yeah, this is way better. Yeah, definitely.
oh, there's no
Thing is, well,
comparison.
I think Pop's point of showing the original first was just as like a completist kind of history kind of thing, where you see the origin point and then you see the continuation in later films, which I always find kind of really interesting. Actually, I kind of like that kind of thing. Like just going through through the chapters, so to speak.
Right, and at the beginning, Gorilla was asking, should we judge this movie based on its own or comparing it to the original? And I say comparing it is fine. That's the reason why we do watch the original first, and it
Right,
justifies
and
why there's a sequel. It's like people say, why make a remake? The first was so good. Well, that's why I show both, so it can justify why there's a remake and why it was worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Obviously, I'm not going to show a movie with a bad sequel
Yeah, it's
or
nice to
copy.
get a. It's nice to finally see a great remake as instead of so many mediocre ones I've seen over the years, right? So yeah.
right, and vice
Exactly.
versa, Pops. I hope you wouldn't show us a crappy first movie, but be like, no, we're gonna just watch the remake instead because it is far superior. Like, I get that we should
I
do it in a chronological thing, but
yes. But I'm trying to think, is there any circumstances where the first movie's bad and the second one's good? I'll have to think about that. I'm
yeah,
sure there's probably
an
some
interesting,
somewhere.
right? Okay, so here we have once again beautiful. She's tried to. You've got the POV shot of it coming at her head. She closes off the sewer, but it's still able, due to its amorphous body, just to like suck down some tendrils, which, like, once again, organic matter burns away her hair before it's able to actually like grab her and do any damage. And like,
Right.
for me, like, looking at that situation, I would personally just like, nah, I'd just let go of the ladder and accept that I'm going to be in extreme pain for a few seconds while it rips my hair and burns my hair out, but I'm going to fall because it's going to go faster.
You're right. I'd rather lose some hair than the alternative. Go ahead, Gorilla.
Sorry,
Exactly.
this is what the scene that really pissed me off. This goes from okay, we got an alien creature, they think it's bacteria and all that, to it's government made. And they sent it back to Earth to test it out. It's like, after the last 3 years, this is the last thing I wanted to see.
And it's funny because interesting. I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
It's.
I don't think
Go
they
ahead,
were
BBB.
thinking I don't think they were thinking of COVID, or excuse me, that virus thingy, when they made the film originally, Grillo. So
No,
I'll
but
give it a
it's
pass.
like this trope's been used 100 times.
Oh,
in
evil
that
government, evil government trope. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Totally.
And this is where the original movie was way better than this. When all of a sudden, it's evil government. Well, we got to go after the Soviets. We got to beat the Soviets to this. This will teach the Soviets.
I mean, yes, it is
So
rather
you like the idea
cliche,
of
but I still. Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, so Gorilla, you prefer the monster being just from outer space rather than the government being involved, right?
Yeah, well, if I wanted an evil government movie, one, I would watch a movie with the evil. This wouldn't bother me if this was solely based on this was the original meaning behind the whole thing is we knew that it's gonna be a government thing, blah blah blah. Instead, you got the original where it's just a space alien creature that's coming and that's basically attacking Earth, versus this is government made and now they're testing it out on the people.
Yeah, and see, like, I don't mind that myself personally. Like, as like because that wasn't their intention. They're like, well, I mean, it was. They're like they're from the biological weapons research, and they sent bacteria, basically multiple celled organisms, or single lot. I think it's a single celled organism, as like a supercell, basically that grows bigger and bigger the more it absorbs. So it's
I
a
think so.
singular entity that's kind of like an amoeba type of thing.
And of course, you got to
But
have
yes.
the quote where I want that thing alive. Of course, you got to have that.
Oh yeah.
Well, they spent a lot of money on that because it got
Of
so
course.
big. It wasn't supposed to crash land here. Like this wasn't planned. They're like this thing got so big that it knocked itself out of orbit and it landed here. Luckily, it did. Like like it might have landed in Russia for all they knew. Like they're lucky enough that it landed in America, in a place that they could go and like retrieve it potentially.
I don't know. I think maybe they might kind of like if it landed
Without
in
starting
Russia.
a war. Right.
Might solve a lot of problems.
Oh,
Well, that's true.
well, as maybe, but
These days,
like
the bad guys China though. Yeah, these days.
Yeah, it's like Vlad's side dish.
Go ahead.
Anyone? Anyway,
yeah. All right, Daniel's here. Hi, Daniel.
hey Daniel.
Hey,
Hey,
Daniel,
Daniel, good to
how's
see
it
ya.
going? And he said, Blob. Nice, bro.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. It was my choice. So, I mean, of course, I'm going to talk it up. I'm not going to be like, I picked this movie and it's awful. Therefore, I made you watch it.
We get more Steve McQueen scenes. It's even a Triumph motorcycle, which Steve McQueen drove in his movies.
Oh, that's nice.
Amazing.
That's a nice touch,
With our
actually. A
action.
little homage to Steve.
But it's nice
Yeah,
because, like, they showed it at the beginning. Oh, go ahead.
Cool. It's very cool.
I was just going to tell PvP that when they filmed this movie, they asked Chad McQueen to be in it, but he didn't want to be anything that was related to what his dad had done. So that's why we get Kevin Dillon instead.
That's a bit weird. I would have think he would have kind of liked to have done a little homage to his father, but oh well. That's me, I guess.
Probably didn't want to be compared. He probably, which is a good thing. He doesn't want to be compared to his dad. He want to have his own career on his own without being judged.
I guess.
So in a way, that's kind of good.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right. And like, I mean, it's nice because we had the call back to like he succeeded the jump this time, and like other people didn't because they fell short, just like he did.
Yes,
that's right.
His character
right at the start.
Arc.
At the start of the movie.
You got it.
Character arc.
Well, the thing is, he's such a jerk at the beginning of the movie, and as the movie progresses, he seems to take on some, shall I say, better qualities as a human being.
Well, and it's funny. I never saw him as a jerk. Well, I saw him more as like defensive, moody, rebellious, punkish. Like
self-serving to me. Maybe that's the way to put it. I don't know.
Well, it's. I mean, it's very obvious. He's like, go ahead.
All about himself is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
I mean, yeah, because like as he says, we missed that little point in the movie. He's like, where he's like, hey, he lockpicks the door on a moving vehicle and is like, I'm getting the fuck out of here to Meg, and she's like, go, you're better off just looking after yourself. And he's like, well, no one else stepped up for the job, and he jumps out. So he's always been looking after himself. So yeah, of course, he's grown up tough. Like he has to be.
Right. He came from a broken household. His mother's an alcoholic.
Yeah, I can understand the character's mindset, under the circumstances, totally. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Here,
I just thought he was a bit hardened at the start. I guess maybe that's a better way to put it. But I mean,
but we need him to be that way because otherwise the arc wouldn't be as good.
Well, and it's understandable, right, Nemesis? So I get it.
Totally.
I do get it.
I'm glad you get it.
Well, I'm glad too.
This scene is hilarious because these days, if you said handicapped person or persons, you hear, who you calling handicapped?
Where is handicapped? Well, I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, because you can't even say handicapped these days. I mean, it's like everybody's got a title for something in their head.
Well, I remember when political correctness started years ago, and then it's just gotten worse and worse and worse with every decade since.
Everybody's offended. Everybody has their own name for something, and if you don't, if you're not a psychic, you're not reading their mind, they get upset.
A lot of people seem to enjoy being offended. It's like one of their main activities in life, you know.
They look for it. Yeah, they look for
Anyways,
it.
so getting past that
Anyways,
stuff, guys.
watching Nemesis
This
movie.
scene, yes, this scene is one of my favorites in all of horror movies because it breaks the trope that, well, we'll see in a second. So what we don't get to hear is like the squeaks of the rats, and she's like, "All right, come on, avoid the rats. Watch out for that rat over there." And the kid's like, "Well, what rat? There's no rat." And so she looks behind, and there's the rat. There's no rat. And then we look over here, pan right. Oh, see, the rat's gone, sorry. And then pan right, there's a rat. And it gets sucked under the water. And to that, there's the realization that the blob has been stalking them this whole time through the shit water. And they have to, like, run through this poop water. And, like, probably, and I'm going to sound like an absolutely terrible human being, but here we go. She's saving her brother. And then, oh dear. The little kid gets grabbed. Oh no. Hopefully he'll be okay, right?
I doubt it.
Oh, but it's a horror movie. Kids don't die in horror movies.
They totally had the wrong music for this. They should have had dun 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 dun.
I think Spielberg might have had an issue with that, girl.
Yeah, John Williams maybe if they got the score, but like I think it's great. Like this girl, and once again, Meg just showing what a trooper she is. She dove headfirst into the poop water to try and save that little kid. And what we didn't get to see was the little kid reaching out of the water and basically having what Paul happened to him. He was getting absorbed and getting his flesh melted off and ripped off, and he gets sucked into the blob. And the kid dies. Right. And it's one of the first times in a horror movie that the kid dies.
I think that's a
refreshing.
Well, it's a refreshing change of pace from the usual trope, right?
It is.
Yes.
There's another movie I'm going to cover eventually called The Boogans. And it's about a monster, and it actually gets an infant in a high chair.
Holy shit.
That's hardcore, Bob.
Yeah, it is.
That's real hardcore.
Not necessarily on camera, but they imply that it does get the kid in the high chair.
Yikes.
Well, and I mean, like that. There's a movie that I would like to cover at some point called Bats. But first off, can we just appreciate the creature design here, where it's opening up its maw? Look, just how big the blob has gotten since we've first seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And like, had these dudes not shown up, and like, thank goodness, like the one dude fires off a shot, and he's like, "We have orders not to shoot," and then of course that's the dude that gets immediately grabbed. It's just like, oh, of course, it's not the dude who fired the shots off.
And like, shoot, what? Like a bullet's gonna really do anything against that mass?
Well, right, because we've already seen that metal doesn't work on it. It can't absorb metal, so.
Okay, I've got a question. So Gorilla mentioned that it was the government that invented the blob, or am I maybe wrong?
Yes, it was the government that had invented a blob. They had put a bacteria in space to see what would happen to the biological material in space. It was affected so severely that it grew big, and it's so big that it knocked itself out of orbit and landed in this small town.
Okay,
causing the events we saw.
My question then is, if the government invented the blob and the government basically, caused all of this mayhem, should they not have had some awareness that maybe if this thing came back and kept growing and growing and growing, that simple guns might not be able to stop it?
Well, I mean, maybe not. They weren't expecting it to be like this.
I think I would have packed like maybe a few flamethrowers, maybe some.
Oh well, it's funny that you mentioned that PvP. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Give them a variety, maybe a couple of, hand grenades. I don't know.
I mean, I like the way you think, dude. I like the way you think. So.
Well, it just seems obvious. Like you're not going to send, guys to a machine gun fight with a pocket knife, right? It's like, come on, guys.
Well, so I'll put it to you this way, PvP. What we missed, and this scene here is beautiful because. It shows a mathematical trajectory. Like if you go too steep, you're gonna like turn into the blob. If you go too short, you're gonna get grabbed by the blob. That dude did a perfect arc in order to like get his motorcycle past the blob that was obstructing half of the tunnel.
Yes,
that's cool. Very cool.
And getting back to your point here, where the dude's like, they sent these people in PvP because they're trying to blow up all the entrances to the sewer, and they're trying to keep it down in the sewers and contain it that way. These guys aren't going in to like kick its ass. They're trying to contain it, get in, get out. They're lightly armored, as we see later.
They're expendable, basically.
Yes.
Of course, he just says close.
See, it's funny, right? That's my man down there. Well, and even he said, like, because he said, he's like, what about the civilians down there? And he's like, they're expendable. He literally said that phrase. So,
gosh, little did I know.
All right.
I haven't seen it yet, this last part yet, but this is great.
Oh, someone's got a train.
Oh,
Yeah,
not me.
Diaberg says
I don't live near the tracks.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry.
we don't even have railroad tracks.
Yeah,
And
we don't have trains anymore. We used to have trains running up and down the valley like years ago every day, but that kind of got phased out like maybe 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh, it must be nice. I have a fucking main train track that like runs like, I don't know, 5. Well, it goes like, I don't know, it's 8 or 9 blocks away on either side, but you can hear it whenever it comes in because it has to blast its fucking horn to let people know, because people are stupid because they stand on the bridge because they're idiots.
Yeah,
Anyways.
kind of like that video I posted not too long ago. But no, they took our railroad tracks out like 50 years ago.
Wow, that's a long time. We used to have like a railroad system that, well,
So
I shouldn't go Nemesis. I don't get sidetracked.
I appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, so we got once again, Brian here is like, the soldier's expendable. He's noticed that, or have we got to the part where she's noticed the rocket launcher yet?
Oh,
I don't think so.
Yes. No. Okay. So, Buddy, as you were asking PvP about why they wouldn't at least bring some heavier firepower, they did. This buddy here has like a 1970s Vietnam era law launcher, which is basically just a single shot. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's a single shot launcher. So, but the dude's just like, why wouldn't you use that thing? As he even says, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? And he's like, it won't do anything good, not against that thing. He knows. This dude knows. He's like, the bullets did nothing. This rocket's doing nothing. Like, we're not stopping this thing. So,
well, the problem with a rocket launcher too, if it blows the blob up, it's just going to blow it up into tiny little pieces, and then there'll be even more blobs. I'm guessing.
Oh, dude, well, not only, right? And, like, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, if you do somehow manage to blow this up and it lands on people, well, then what? Like, there's...
More dead
it has a way high... Oh, or dead people, anything. If it lands on any organic matter, which it's going to, depending on the blast radius, it's even worse. Like, so, yeah, this thing's... That's why they're using it for military research. Like, and that's why they want it so bad.
I could understand if they wanted to turn it... against another government in some other part of the world, that it would be very effective as a weapon.
That's the whole point. They're like, well, we'll be way ahead of the Russians, which I know Guerrilla doesn't like, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it's really a trope, but I don't care.
It really does make the government look pretty evil, though. I mean, seriously.
This is nothing
pretty
compared.
Evil.
This is nothing compared to COVID. The government's actually worse than any horror movies that ever depicted. When you think about it, look what COVID has done. So no,
wow,
this is child's play compared to COVID.
Speaking of child's play, we should maybe potentially cover those because I mean it's Brad Dourif, but
yeah, at least the first one or two were. Yeah, I don't know if I'll cover them all. Right now, the franchise is in a pretty shitty shape right now with that TV show. It's garbage, but the movies were good.
Right, and therein lies like we don't have to watch all the movies, just the good ones. So here we're having a standoff, and we've got Brian talking about, because he makes all the points that you guys have made, like why would the government respond so fast? Do you think that they respond to all meteor impacts with dudes with guns in tents and tanks? Like, this is clearly something going on. And like
Exactly.
Briggs is actually, because once again, it's a small town, there is a trust. Even though he doesn't like Brian, there's a trust here. Enough to question that when people are like, hey, kill him, he's like, no, fuck you. And he points the gun at the army officers.
Yeah,
So once again, showing. Go ahead.
This is just a good old Mexican standoff.
It is, and it's a little bit of a completion or more of a character arc for Briggs, like showing that, like, even though he doesn't have a lot of character dialogue in this scene, basically he's just like, hey guys, let's all put our weapons down because, like, let's not kill each other. You can tell that he cares enough for Brian.
Well,
That he fires and he gets fires. Yeah, right? Like, so. And here we go. We get, I think it's Dr. Shaw getting eaten through the suit. We didn't get to see it, but
right. No, but you got to have the guy who's in charge always get killed by the monster. It's like the old Frankenstein syndrome. It's got to end that way.
Well, of course. Well, and then again, of course, like here we have like the arrogance of the military showing up, being like, all right, let's frag this son of a bitch. Let's scrag this son of a bitch. And I'm just like, oh, how quaint. And so, yeah, they open up some M16 fire. Buddy drops like a satchel charge down there.
I mean, seriously, are these guys that stupid? They think M16s are going to do a damn thing against this critter?
Oh, dude, I know.
This is the point where they're testing out the different weapons.
Well, my question is, how do these guys ever get jobs working for the government when they're this stupid? It's like,
actually, I do like that theory, Pop, that they're just testing out different weapons. Sorry, Pop, or PvP.
No, don't worry, no worries. I just am a bit dumbfounded. These guys are actually ineffective. Ineffective government. Oh, I guess that's a trope too.
It is. Well, it is, right? Yeah. Chew on that slime ball, and then we get like.
It's a great
once again.
Coming up.
Oh my god, dude! It's amazing. Holy shit!
Another good one.
Oh, dude, PvP. Yeah, it's, and once again, because we're doing this in slide format. You don't get to hear the sound cues that are popping up before this. You hear a deep set rumbling. And then you hear all the pans are starting to vibrate and the pieces of metal are starting to vibrate. And they're like, what the hell's going on? And of course, Brian's the only smart one who's like, I think you just pissed it off, dude. You didn't do anything except make it mad.
Right. It being below the surface, they don't realize how big it is.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good time to like do the runaway routine, personally.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, that'd be the wisest thing to do. I mean, okay, I missed the
Well,
review.
I mean,
it's that. Of course, I want you to copyright warning. I know if I do this. Well,
don't worry about it, Pop. I'll watch it sometime over the next few days. It's no big deal. You don't have to risk copyright.
Awesome.
I love that.
Here we go. There it goes.
Right. Right, he pulls the grenades. He pulls the grenades from the pins as the monster collapses on him, and excuse me. And then you can see the explosions inside the blob.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. And what we didn't, and once again, just showing that like what the blob can't melt through. At this point, it can just overpower. It punched a hole through concrete and asphalt and towers. It's a towering, monstrous being now. Boom! Like that. That dude literally got flattened.
Yes,
cool.
I want to try to catch that.
That's very cool.
Oh, one of my favorite deaths in the movie. The dude's just like, woo! Like literally. And then this shot, POV of the blob, just like picking up people, eating them, having them into the mast. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, this certainly is a lot more extreme than the Steve McQueen version. That's for damn sure.
Right. Basically like a bug.
Oh, boy. This is really great.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. And so here you go, PvP, where you're talking about like, well, why wouldn't they bring like rocket launchers or flamethrowers? Well, here comes a dude with a flamethrower. And we're going to see how effective this flamethrower is.
Probably not at all, I'm guessing.
I mean, he gets a real nice, good arc, and then a little tentacle comes out and blocks the output and blows him up immediately. It's reactionary. It's just
I
so.
think, well, we talked about how in the original film it was the freezing that stopped the blob, right? And I'm thinking
Yes.
they needed some kind of weapon that had a freezing capability to have even
Well,
a
that's what they're showing
half-assed
right
chance,
now.
right?
That's what they're showing right
Oh,
now. Look what she has in her hands.
oh, we're getting there now. Okay, well, geez.
Yeah. Geez, man, if you would just watch the movie and you're like,
Yeah, well, if
fuck.
my internet provider
I
charged me almost
know.
$200 a month to hadn't crapped out for like till I think it came on sometime this morning, like it was out for like 8 or 9 hours, which really sucks.
No. Yeah, I'm very sorry for that. I'm not trying to be a dick. Yeah, that really sucks that your internet was being shitty. I was struggling to get it. Mine started today, but I was able to get it through. And once again, we have this beautiful the whole trope of the. Oh,
just quick,
yeah.
like I was so panicked because I work from home and I was thinking, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to work today, which is not good. So thank God it came back on in the morning and I was able to complete my entire shift today because I was really freaking out. I'll tell you.
Awesome. Okay, so what we did miss was the classic POV shot of the monster chasing the people in and slamming the door in its face, and then we missed a little bit. We got to see a little bit of it. The blob coming underneath once again with practical effects, and so we've had Brian disappeared that whole time because Meg had ended up back with her brother and her family, and Brian has gone to go get the snowmaking machine that he works for. I can't remember. I didn't get his name. The gentleman he
earlier
blow the sockets off of. Yes, the mechanic. So he's got his snowmaking truck because Brian understands that freezing is the only thing that's going to work, and this is their only best chance.
There's the mechanic.
There he is, right there. And an awesome death here. Fucking poor Briggs. Jesus Christ. Like one of the most painful deaths. Like, I don't know if we get to see it. Okay. So anyways, what happens is he gets the tentacles wrapped around him. So he's melting from the outside and it melts him and he's getting stuck against a barricade and he gets folded in two and sucked through the fucking thing and eaten by the blob. And it's just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love it.
And here comes, right? Oh, dude, it was just, ooh. And so here comes Brian to the rescue trying to get the snowblower to work. And it gets his attention. But, like, the blob is so big at this point that just, I don't even think that, like, I still think he makes the right choice. Driving it at it versus just trying to back up and try and hit it.
Right, but unfortunately the truck turns over.
And he gets trapped. And at this point, you don't know if he's going to survive because the blob has attacked him. And once again, talking about character arcs, here we have Meg, who went from this passive cheerleader, innocent, to running over to some dude who has his legs melted off and his arm melted off, seeing Brian trapped in the truck, and grabs the satchel charge and the M16. And what we don't get to see here is Buddy being like, help me! And she kind of like looks at him and is just like, nope, sorry, bro, I got things to do, and like runs up and jumps on top of the tanker trying to get the blob's attention. And I mean, like, here's her one line, come on, you can do better than that. And I mean, I was just kind of like, okay, not bad for one-liners, not bad.
Right, and I want to mention that line is from Kevin Dillon from the movie Platoon.
Really?
Wow. Nice research.
Awesome. And then, yeah, she pulls a nemesis, and she tries to jump off and gets her foot caught. And she's dangling there like a knob, and I'm just like, yeah, that's me. That would, yeah, totally.
That'd be my luck too.
Right?
Yeah, with my luck, I probably would have eaten a long time earlier in this film.
Oh, that's fair. So what we didn't get to see was she dropped a satchel charge that she picked up off of the dying dude and dropped it on the snowmaker tank. And here we have the giant explosion of snow. And like you were saying, PvP, had it just been a normal explosion, it might have just blown that blob into 100 different little blobs and like started things being even worse.
Right.
But here we have, I think, as you were saying, Pops, it's one of the only CGI parts in the movie is the gleaming on the actual crystals.
Right.
Oh, okay.
The sparkles we get on the right there. That's CGI. Those little sparkles you see.
Okay.
That's it. Right there.
But it's very curious because it looks like amethyst crystals, but it's not.
What a rush.
What a rush. That's a hilarious line.
Hey, man.
I think that's not the kind of rush I need every day, but oh well.
A once in a lifetime rush is good enough for me for that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I do like the changing character, the arc of the pharmacist, because he starts out kind of like a jerk, but then he actually turns out to be a pretty good character. So I did like that the parents weren't exactly useless and all stupid.
Yeah, they have a really nice. He has a really nice character arc.
Yeah.
And of course, the mechanic bringing a little bit of levity at the very end of the movie. And once again, I just find it very interesting that, like, just how they're all shaped very similar to amethyst crystals. And then it does a beautiful panning shot to the fields and to the Reverend Meeker.
Oh, God.
Looking extra.
Bringing his. Well, yeah, because he got. What we didn't get to see was, did he get burned or did he get splashed with acid due to the blob? He lost an eye.
No, he was on fire. Remember that? Then they used the fire extinguisher on him.
That's right. Thank you, Gorilla.
Right, and now he's had plastic surgery, so he looks like Madonna.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
And D. Elberg says such a great ending with the priest.
I agree, D. I agree. This is awesome, right? And like you can see, this dude's like traumatized. Like he's gone through like obviously a bunch of bullshit over the years because like he's aged considerably. And then we have this lady, when Reverend, when will the end times come? And we have this beautiful shot. And that's CGI, of course. Like they didn't do that with practical effects, but whatever. It looks fine. And he's like, the day's not far off. Yeah. And the Lord shall giveth me a sign, and we get the big reveal that the Blob's still alive. Because what we didn't get to see is before he gets lit on fire, he goes looking in the diner to see what happened. Because I believe he sees the Blob in the alleyway first, and then it goes down and goes into the sewer, and then he runs inside seeing like what's going on outside of the diner. And he notices
the frozen crystals, right? We just show that where he put them inside the jar.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and there's
then
credit Dr. Jack Nance. That's by the way, PvP was before you got here, but the doctor in this movie is the guy who played Eraserhead.
Oh, okay.
Did you recognize that PvP?
No, I didn't.
It was the doctor. The doctor in the clinic at the beginning when the three kids run in there to get help, and they have the man that has the blob on his arm. The doctor is Jack Nance, the guy who played Eraserhead. You can see his name the fourth down in the credits right there.
Oh gosh, that's wow. I haven't seen Eraserhead in like 30-something years, so I guess that's probably why I didn't pick up on it. But I imagine he looked a little older too in this film. So
he did, and therein lies because like once Pop pointed it out, and I saw who it was because I was just like I was doing research and I'm like, there's no way, and I'm like, well, which doctor was it? And boom, there he is, right there.
I don't know. I'm still not recognizing him. I'd have to take a look at Eraserhead again, I guess.
Yep,
we'll cover it eventually.
Well, yeah, that's another one to put on the list, I guess. Yeah.
That's more of the sci-fi dystopian versus horror. Well, I mean that's how do you classify Eraserhead? Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, we were going to do some more sci-fi stuff too, I guess, and it's kind of sci-fi. Well, I think the baby's pretty horrific, actually. In that movie.
Well, I'm definitely going to cover Eraserhead. I don't know if I wouldn't call it horror, but I wouldn't call it sci-fi, but I would definitely call it horror. I'd say, in my opinion, if I had to put Eraserhead in a category, it's just straight up nightmare. Because it's almost incomprehensible. The scenes don't really jive together. And you're like, what is this? As you're watching it, you're like, what is this? What am I watching? So it's like a nightmare. It doesn't all completely make sense.
It is like a nightmare. One of those nightmares that makes no sense and is totally different fragments that don't go together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm just going to step away for 1 minute, guys. I promise I'll be back very quick. Okay.
Go for it. All right, that was fun. And by the way, as a reminder, I did put a poll in the chat, everybody. If you're watching, if you're still awake, please consider voting and let us know your opinion on what grade you would give this movie or our coverage of this movie. And
yes, please let us know how we did. Oh, sorry, Pop.
No, it's great. We got through this in 2 hours. So that's great. It's considering it's a little over an hour and a half movie. Yeah, we moved along at a pretty good pace. So that's good. Hopefully I didn't bore people too much.
No, we stayed on topic. We had a couple tangents a little bit, but we breezed through this. We had fun. I think this was awesome. So do we want to do final thoughts?
Our reviews? Our final thoughts, our reviews. Are you ready to do yours, Gravilla?
What's that? Oh. Okay. Now,
give us your grade and tell us about your channel?
Well, if we're comparing this to the original version, there's no comparison. The original version way better, and I liked how in the original version we go that it's an alien. You know, I just did not like it how it suddenly went. Oh, the government created this, and they purposely brought that meteorite back down. We're gonna test it out. If I wanted to watch that, I would watch a movie where I would watch something like Red Dawn or something. If I wanted to go, oh, we gotta teach those Soviets a lesson, those communists a lesson, or whatever. It's just I like the original where it's just purely alien and all that. But there's some things this movie did better as a standalone. I'm gonna give it a B because it made me give me a laugh, you know. But I just didn't like the the turnaround with the whole government creating it thing. I thought that was stupid.
That's cool. Would you like to tell us about your channel?
Well, usually on Wednesdays I do Justified there. But I might not be able to do it tomorrow night. I might not be able to do Gilligan's Island tomorrow night. I still got to see here.
That's fine.
I already carried the thing, but I might have to take it down. But on Fridays, we review the Waltons. We're on the episode The Triangle. Saturday, it might be a really late review, or I might have to postpone that a week because I got a funeral to go to on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And then on Sunday, we are watching The Christmas Story Christmas.
Fantastic. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, girl. I've never seen Christmas Story Christmas, the latest one, so that should be fun.
Nemesis, are you ready to give your review of this movie?
Oh yeah, I give this an A+, easy peasy. Between the practical effects, the acting is solid, the cinematography is great. There are a bunch of different unique shots that either convey the victim's POV or the monster's POV. The use of like slight dark humor where like Buddy comes up and the yo-yo pans down and then you pan up and there's this eldritch abomination that it's including your friend that's being absorbed into the ceiling, and then it pans down from the monster's point of view and it shows a really good shot of the dude getting eaten, and it's just really unique. I wouldn't say unique, but it's fantastic. Like, the practical effects are S tier. They go right up there with The Thing. It's one of the best monster movies out there. Like, it stands there with The Thing. It's fantastic. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. Like, and even if you watch this review, I highly recommend it. Like, it's great. Like, it's a movie I could throw on again and again and still find enjoyment in it. Like,
Yeah, I would say
it's great.
yeah.
So that being said, we had 35 deaths in the movie, including the Blob at the end. But I don't know. So maybe 34, if because the Blob might technically be still alive in the jar. And then when there's so and yeah,
That's it.
and
Yeah, that potential sequel that we never really got.
which I mean, like we've discussed, probably for the best. Yeah, it was great. Like we didn't get to see any boobs really. Like we had the one groping scene, and that was about it. So nothing on that front. But yeah, solid A+ movie. Please check it out if you haven't. Like it's fantastic. When it comes to my channel, I do gaming predominantly. I've been doing a lot of Duel Links, Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links. So I'll be uploading that. If you're interested in watching some gameplay without me talking, yeah, it's up on there. Yeah, definitely. Please check me out. Subscribe if you haven't, and definitely subscribe to everyone else's channels if you haven't as well. Everyone deserves your subscription. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched in the chat so far. Dioberg, Daniel. Who else did we have show up? Cody Guy, Jim, Basil, and anyone on the who watches this on the rerun. Thank you so much for taking your time and spending your time with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Nemesis. And how about you, PvP? Would you like to share your thoughts?
Oh, of course. Well, I don't love it as much as Nemesis, but I've told you guys repeatedly, I'm not really a big horror fan guy. Even though I appreciate a well-made film, even if it is horror, I can, enjoy it. And I definitely enjoyed this one. I think it's a very good film. A lot of fun, great special effects, nice little touches of dark humor, like Nemesis just mentioned. Yeah, it's really a fun movie. I gave it a high B+, and I want to say a high B+. It was almost into A- category for me, but there's so many movies I love even more that it's kind of hard for me to push it into the A category, because I always do tend to rate a little bit conservative on the ratings. But yeah, I think it's a great film. The CGI. Or not CGI. The practical effects were, as mentioned, just as good as The Thing, really, if not even better. I mean, they're top level for sure. The cast was solid. The writing was solid. There's really nothing I can criticize about the film. Basically, it was just a very solid, enjoyable movie. So yeah, definitely B+ for sure.
All right. How about your town?
Channel? Well, I'm still working on playlists, music playlists. I think I added something over the weekend. I can't remember what the heck it was now, but I'm always trying to add something every few weeks. So just check it out every once in a while, and I'm sure I'll probably put up either a new mix playlist, or I'll just post an entire album sometimes, which is a lot quicker and easier actually to do. So, but yeah, there's always trying to add a little bit here and there. So yeah.
All right. Very nice. I appreciate that. Thank you, PvP.
You're welcome, Pop.
And as for my review, I'm going to definitely give this, I would say, an A+. And not only because of the practical effects, but the fact that it's still a good old fashioned story. You have the monster, you have the creature. I think the script had good pacing, moved along at a really good speed. Not really a lot of slow spots. The guy gets the girl at the end. That's another thing that they don't have anymore. All the women, they don't need no man these days, and all that other stuff. So yeah, this is another movie. I hope they never, or at least with current Hollywood, I hope they don't get anywhere trying to make a remake of this movie ever again. It's interesting because it really had the underlying black humor in the script. There was some really funny scenes to kind of counteract the gore, which is always great. That's always a nice touch. The casting, I think, was really well done too. Like I said, Kevin Dillon, he's really not a headliner, but I think he did a good job in this one. And I have to agree to a point with Gorilla that it is sort of a letdown that the government is involved, because it's like, oh, because I do like when things come from outer space, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where there's no explanation of where they're coming from, what they are, or anything. All we know is they're from outer space and they're here to kill. So that's always a good thing. That I think that beats the plot of a government conspiracy any day. So I do agree with Gorilla on that. And as far as my channel, I have Gorilla and myself covered Gilligan's Island on Wednesdays. We're currently almost towards the end of season 2. And I have a Rumblings from the Lab with open topic, open mic on Saturday nights when I'm not ill, which I was last weekend, but I'm feeling much better now. And I had another discussion with one of my doctors today regarding that affair.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I basically gave him an ultimatum. So I have Lost in Space on Mondays, where we're just now getting ready to dive into season 2 in full color. I'm excited about that. I have the new book by Mark Cushman, so I can cover it in great detail like we did the first season. Nice. And then we'll be back next Tuesday with our horror sci-fi stream. Now, since tonight it was a movie that one of Nemesis and myself chose. Next week, I think maybe we'll go ahead and dive into a Hammer movie. So I'm going to start with one of the. I haven't quite decided. It'll be one of the first Hammer Frankensteins or Dracula. Maybe Dracula. What do you guys think? The Christopher Lee Dracula?
Yeah, I'd go with Dracula. I love Christopher Lee Dracula. That's just great stuff.
Okay, so maybe we'll bounce back and forth. One month we'll do Christopher Lee Dracula. Next month we'll do Peter Cushing Frankenstein, and then
sounds good.
Lee Dracula, and then Peter Cushing Frankenstein, kind of back and forth through the franchise. What do you guys think about that? Huh?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds great, Pop.
Right, and PPP, you like color? You're going to love the Hammer movies. They saturate it in color, and you'll get a lot of beautiful women with great cleavage.
Well, I have
seen. I think you'll be satisfied in that department.
I did see some of those back in the 60s and 70s as a younger person, so I am familiar with some of them, even though it's been so long since I've seen any of them. I'll probably totally forget them, and it'll be like a whole new experience. But excellent. I do remember they were great films, for sure.
Well, and then not only they were great movies, but they looked amazing. The Gothic, the set design, the budget. I mean, they look fantastic. Look like right out of the 1800s.
Well, the atmosphere, too. The atmosphere, the costume design. I mean, just top shelf stuff, right? So, yeah.
And cleavage. We get a lot of cleavage. It's always a good thing.
Always appreciate some good cleavage.
Yes, I'm not going to argue.
Hell yeah.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so, yes, if you're listening in the chat or on the rerun, so next week we're going to introduce the Hammer films. I've been talking about it for several months, and it's about time we get around to that. I think that's something the new generation needs to be exposed to.
That'll be
fun. So Gorilla, I don't think you've seen any of them yet. Hammer is a company that made horror. Hammer is a company that used to make horror movies. They're right now they're kind of very obscure. They kind of went in and out of business a couple times now. They haven't made anything really relevant in a while. But back in the day, 60s, late 50s, 60s, 70s, they dominated the horror market.
And
it got to the point where the American...
They were a British company, right, Pop?
Definitely British company. But it got to the point where during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, not 80s, but like I said, late 50s, 60s, 70s, the American companies were not making very good horror movies. They weren't very successful and they weren't very good. So Hammer dominated the movies. So anybody who was alive back then remembers that when you went to the drive-in, it was usually to see a horror movie. It was usually a Hammer movie because, like I said, the other companies just weren't making very good stuff. And in fact, we'll cover that when we get to the Frankenstein movie. How Hammer got the rights to Frankenstein from Universal, because that's basically what happened. Is Universal let it lag. Universal refused to give Hammer the rights to it, so Hammer said, "Okay, we're just going to make our own Frankenstein movie." Then they did, and it turned out so successful. Universal contacted them and said, "You're right, that was our good movies," and then kind of gave them some of the rights. So there's a lot of history behind that as well. But yes, Hammer is the name of a company that made movies. They even had a TV show and a couple other things. and obviously besides um, Dracula and Frankenstein, they made like some mummy movies, and they made the Gorgon about Medusa, which is another movie which I'll make sure we cover that one as well.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
there's a
hope that
lot of
answers
them.
your question.
Should keep it going for many months if you're covering Hammer. I'm guessing because there's quite a number
I
of
think
them.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. It'll be nice too that we'll have it changing it up every week. I think maybe that'll help. Maybe I hope people enjoy that.
Well, there's only one
It's
way to
kind of
find
hard
out,
to
Bob.
compete. Yeah,
Is to
it's kind
show
of
them.
right. To be honest, it's kind of hard to compete on Tuesdays because there's a lot of the streams going on, and I know like tonight we don't have as many viewers as we used to. I mean, you think about how many viewers we had the night we did Night of the Living Dead. I mean, we had a lot of people. There was like 10 people on the panel and 15 in the chat. But it seems to be more people going over to the other channels. So I'm doing the best I can to try to lure them back,
Oh,
honestly.
there was other live stuff going on tonight. Then you're saying?
Tuesday night, yeah.
I was not aware. Gosh. Hey,
Yeah.
this is always where I'm going to
Robbie
be on a
and some other
Tuesday
ones.
night.
They'll
Well,
come back and
I
watch on the
prefer
rerun. It's fine. I understand. Like I get that we're trying to lure them back in, but we have our hardcore fans. And thank you so much for
right.
being here. We appreciate it.
Well, the
And
thing is,
yeah,
too,
because it's hard to be everywhere at once. I
and the
get it.
thing,
I flipped through so many different live chats. Sorry, PvP.
no worries. Did you want to
Yeah,
continue?
Well, I'd
yeah.
rather be here to cover a horror movie like we're doing here than on a topic where they're covering TNG again. It's like, I just
Oh
don't want to hear
no,
about
no
TNG.
TNG.
Yes.
Never again.
Yes.
And exactly. And people will find us here in the future because they'll be looking for the blob. And so, like, yeah. And I mean, we've capped it off at a pretty good time. Not that I want to like shut the stream down or anything, but like closing thoughts, anyone?
Well, I was going to say that you're right about the timing. I think we've got it to where we've trimmed a lot of the fat because there was some. Remember, there were some streams we were going on for like 5 hours, and we
Oh
were
yeah, it
losing
was crazy.
viewers when we were doing that. So
Well,
yeah,
you're
we
what
really
about?
toned these down a bit.
You're like what? You started at 6:30, so that's like what 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly, something
Uh
like
huh.
that.
Yeah,
That's
we're
not
now
too
at two
bad.
Yeah.
hours and 12 minutes. Yeah, it's a
That's not
90-minute
bad.
movie, a little 90-minute movie. So yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I think you did
Well,
well
and
actually.
people are gonna would rather watch a 2 hour and 13 minute video than a 4 hour video. So like once again, if
Yeah.
we want to start a rumbling stream right immediately right now and end this one, I'm all for it. Let's just what do you say, cap her off before 2 hours 15 minutes?
Well, but
I
I don't know. I know some people have to work tomorrow, so I know it's late
well,
for
I
some of you
could
guys.
probably hang around for maybe another hour and a bit, maybe for rumblings, because it's only 8:44 here, so it's not that late. So I
Well,
still have to
there's no
eat
pressure
something
on
eventually, but
for Pop to even do a rumblings. I'm just
I,
saying we should probably
I'm good with
cap this
Saturday
at a
as well.
beautiful time.
Yeah. I just want to
Yeah,
quickly
and for me, it
mention.
doesn't matter. Go ahead.
I just want to quickly mention. I don't think it's just that there's other streams, competing on a Tuesday necessarily. I think, obviously, our guests in the chat have different tastes, and they're not going to love every single movie every single week that we present, right? Some of them are going to be interested, and sometimes there'll be a movie where they'll go, "Nah, I think I'll take a pass on that one." So
Oh
the
yeah.
numbers are going to go up and down, obviously. So I think the best, well, like you posted a few weeks ago, like let's have a variety of options as far as what we pick, every week, right? And I think the only way to do it is just to have a good variety of stuff and give people a choice as to all kinds of different movies on the stream here.
Depending.
I agree. Yes, I agree.
No,
And
if you
and,
just
and
keep showing the
it's
same
not
type of
like
movie all the time, people get bored, right?
well, yeah, and it's not like I don't think those bigger channels are competing with me. It's they don't even know I exist. So I stream despite of those other channels. I'll put it that way
Yeah, well, like
Well,
because
exactly.
they've got thousands of subs and hundreds of viewers, and I
personally, I
know
think a
there's
lot of
no
those
sense
bigger
in trying to compete
channels
and get
are
them.
just boring and repetitious. They've got
Well,
their
that's what I'm saying. They're covering
formula, right? But
right. They're covering TNG for the umpteenth time, and I don't know. I mean, that's great for them, but I get a little tired of that. I don't know. I'll cover
Yeah.
TOS, but that's the extent of it from Star Trek for me. That's the extent of it from Star Trek for me.
Yeah, TOS is my favorite show for Trek as well. It always will be.
Right. Well, I mean, regardless, like that being said, gentlemen,
Okay, is there anything else? Uh, by the way, as a reminder, everybody, I did put a poll in the chat. I'm going to cover that now. Obviously, I hope everybody voted. Let me get in there and end that poll,
Well, I certainly
which I'll
did.
do right now, and then I'll share the results with everyone. Okay, there we go. Give me just a moment.
While he's
I
Wow.
doing
almost
that,
forgot. I can't believe
he
that.
Oprex said, "What happened to all the frozen pieces in the street? Maybe in the government labs somewhere. Really think they're going to let a multi-million-dollar project go like that?"
oh,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
in the
imagining.
government lab.
Yeah, they didn't show up, but I'm sure they collected them all up because they knew the danger. So here we have our poll, which looks like we had 6 votes. Nice. What grade would you give the Blob? A plus to A minus. It looks like about 33%. Well, this is pretty evenly split. B plus to B minus 33%. D plus to F minus 33%. And the middle grade, it looks like nobody voted for. That's interesting.
That's a very polarized poll for a change. So, like, I'm not used to seeing D and F category too often, Pop.
I know. I'm
I don't know what
shocked.
it's
What the
doing.
hell,
I'm a
people?
bit. I gotta
No,
say,
I kid you. You.
I'm a bit surprised though. I didn't think the movie was anywhere close to getting a D or F rating. Like, I'm a bit puzzled, but hey, that's me.
And
Hopefully
everyone is
there was
entitled to their opinion, and it's nice to not have an echo chamber for once.
That's right. And
yes.
I'm often puzzled about many things. So that's just me, Nemesis.
And I
No, it's all
did.
good. And when, go ahead, Pop.
I was just gonna say, and I did. If you're listening, if this is not your type of movie, well, I guess if it's not your type of movie, you're probably not listening. But I did leave the option in the community tab where people can suggest titles. So if I'm not showing something that you're interested in, please in the comment section on the community tab, throw in some titles of things you might want to see, and we can always cover those. So it's
Is there
not like we're
still?
just going to insist on people watching just what we want to watch. I'm
I
trying to
think I
cover a
remember.
variety of things.
Was there a community tab option once a month where we could vote on something, or
We're still going
just
to have that,
a
yes.
variety? Yeah, so that might be really really good actually. Just to just get something different on, right?
Right, that's what I was going to say. Was we'll have one week where it's like Hammer horror, another movie where it's sci-fi, another Tuesday where it's sci-fi, and then we'll still have that week where people get to vote. But even then, when on the week where everybody votes, it only lets me put up 4 titles, and then we have to come up with those 4 titles. But it doesn't necessarily have to be us that come up with the titles or myself. It can be based on suggestions that people leave behind in the community tab. So I want people to know that they can engage and interact with the community tab, and that I always welcome outside input.
I'll try and remember to post some suggestions in the community tab as far as horror sci-fi stuff goes. Then, Pop, I'm sure I can probably come up with lots of titles. If I put my little brain to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out. We got years and decades of stuff that we can always
Oh,
cover on here.
I couldn't. If I lived to be 200, I couldn't watch everything I want to watch.
So, Gorilla, do you want me? Are you going to show Creature from the Black Lagoon, or do you want me to do it?
Oh,
To what?
creature.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. Are you going to show it, or did you want me to do it?
I was
I don't
gonna
know if
show.
your son is up this late. Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
He's not even here.
No, but I'm saying even if he was, it's a school night. I know he's not going to be up this late.
Yeah. No, but I've been trying to get him to watch stuff other than YouTube, so we've been
Good.
agreeing to watch movies together.
So, are you doing Creature from the Black Lagoon on Saturday then, Gorilla?
I don't even know if I'll be even streaming on Saturday because I have that funeral.
Oh, right. Yeah, I read about that on Twitter.
Sorry to hear that, Gorilla. That's never anything
Very
to look
sorry.
forward to.
Very, very sorry to hear
Well,
that.
I've been expecting it for the last 2 years, so
Oh,
he's been very sick for the last 2 years.
I guess sometimes it's kind of a blessing when somebody passes on if they're really, really feeling bad, I suppose.
Yeah, at least they're not suffering anymore, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he's just one of those. He was hoping long enough to see Chris married, so
Oh, that's
that
too
was
bad.
over a year ago. So
That's too
Oh, well,
bad.
that's good. So Chris got married?
Oh, Chris got married?
Yeah, that's my brother-in-law.
Oh crap! I didn't realize.
Yeah,
Huh.
his grandpa. My brother-in-law's grandpa.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that. And once again, I appreciate all your opinions and for you guys to help me out with this stream. And I also very, very much appreciate everybody in the chat who came by and spent time with us tonight. I think I had a blast. I had a great time. It was a great movie. And once again, thank you, Nemesis, for the suggestion because, like I said, I was out of my mind because of my therapy this week, and I couldn't even think straight. So it was a breath of fresh air when you uh, offered this movie. It was like, oh yeah, duh. It's like, right, that made me snap out of it and say, yeah, it's a great suggestion. So I appreciate that. It was a good way to
You are
start off.
very welcome.
It was a very
Yeah,
good movie, Nemesis, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you, man.
it
Yeah,
always helps.
guys, no worries. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it
Pop.
always helps. It always helps when it's a good crowd pleaser. It's the kind of movie that you can imagine if you're sitting with an audience, everybody's laughing, everybody's cheering at certain points, everybody's screaming at certain points, and that's always a good movie. So very interactive. So yeah, I'm not disappointed at all.
Yeah, Blob was definitely very interactive. Not in the best
Yes,
way,
it was.
maybe.
No, I think this was a great stream. No, it did very well. I'm really glad that people enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, thanks for sticking around and being here with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was loads of
And
fun.
Right.
thanks to my fellow panelists, and thanks to you, Pop, for having me. I really appreciate it, buddy.
Always my pleasure. Likewise, especially have you guys here. It's good to see you. It's good to interact and good to talk with you guys again. I
You
really
guys
missed you
make
guys this past week that I wasn't feeling well, so it's good that we can visit again.
well, you guys make the early days of my work week bearable because I get so bored at my job. By the time I'm finished for the day, all I want to do is come on here, and relax and have some fun with you guys. And it just this sounds mushy, but it kind of saves your soul, right? When you got something to look forward to that's a hell of a lot of fun that you really, really, enjoy, and you can hang out with really, really good people. And so I appreciate all you guys. I want you to know that.
Well, I enjoyed it as well. I mean, honestly, there's many, many times where I get on YouTube hoping, well, I hope one of my friends is, hope somebody's streaming, and they're not, and it's such a disappointment. When I'm
Mm.
just watching random YouTube videos, it's like, no, I'd rather have some. It's too bad we couldn't schedule it where one of us was streaming every night of the week. That'd be nice.
Well, maybe one of these days I'll finally get off my lazy butt and get around to that.
There
I need to
you go.
do
And,
that.
and,
I know I do.
and you could
I
do,
know I do.
and your job, PvP, will be to cover the Roger Corman movies and the Ray
Oh,
Harryhausen movies.
oh yeah, those would be great. If there's an audience,
Yeah,
well, I
you
hope
could do
there's an
the
audience.
fantasy and the gothic horror, right?
Those are
Well, I know
two.
there's got to be an
Yeah,
audience. My God, Jason and the Argonauts. So people would be watching that.
yeah. I remember I actually talked Jill into watching Jason the Argonauts like 6 months ago because Jill's very hard to get her out of the sci-fi thing, right? And I said, "Come
Right.
on, Jill, it's Ray Harryhausen. You know how great." And so we watched it. We did like a watch party, and she was like totally into it. Like she was just, "This is fantastic." And I was like, "Yes, yes,"
Well, before you
little
showed it to her,
victory.
she didn't really know who Harryhausen was, did she?
Probably not. Like I just said, well,
Yeah.
he's the guy that did the great stop motion stuff back in the 50s and 60s and early 70s, right? So you got to
30s,
watch
40s,
this dude.
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Well, I
He
guess
was a
he
he was an apprentice on King Kong.
Willis O'Brien, I guess it was on King Kong with
Right.
the
Willis O'Brien
Empire.
was the major animator on King Kong, but a
Yeah.
very young Ray Harryhausen was there as an apprentice.
Yes. Yes. Oh well, he had such an incredible career, and
All right,
what did he live to be like 89 or something? Like amazing life
Yeah.
he had.
just a sec. Hey, Scurvy. No wonder the chat's been very quiet tonight. You haven't been here all night.
Well,
I've
Lemon,
missed
Yeah.
Lemon very much. What the hell, man? Where you been? Good to see
Lemon,
you, buddy.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
better
calling
get
you
your
out,
Yeah.
Liv.
excuse, Lemon, for not being here.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
calling you out, Scurvy.
Good to see Lemon. Yeah, that reminds me, we haven't seen Suzanne tonight. I hope she's
Oh,
doing
poor
well.
Suzanne. I hope she's okay. Like she couldn't make it last night, and I hope everything's okay with her.
I know she's having trouble getting her utilities like her heat and electricity on. That's a shame because it's cold right now, and I feel really bad. I hope there's something that she can figure out.
Yeah, I got a disconnection notice on Friday. I phoned the power company yesterday, and thank God that my local power company are really nice people when you call them and ask for an extension and work out a payment schedule. Even if you're months behind, they're like totally happy to work with you and let you pay it in small increments so you can afford it. So that took a
Good.
lot of stress off of me yesterday. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's not good. I don't want to see anybody sitting around in the dark in the cold.
Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary actually, because I live in an apartment, don't forget. And if they killed my power and my fridge died, my landlord would not be happy. Definitely not. So it is scary. Yeah. But
Okay, is there anything?
I hope Suzanne gets that, that situation figured out soon.
Right, and Suzanne, if you're watching this on the rerun, you're in our prayers. Please keep in touch,
Yeah,
and I
we
hope
all
I'll
love you,
talk to you
Suzanne.
soon. Yeah.
We miss you when you're not here.
Is there
Yeah,
anything
be
you'd
well,
like to?
Suzanne.
Yeah. Would you like anything you guys like to add before we close this up? On the lemon pie says, "Hail the Oberg," and I've been running around town fleeing the blob.
Well, that's as
Run,
good
run,
as an
run.
excuse. That's a good excuse, Lemon. You get a pass tonight.
Yeah, I fled the blob once. Her name was Bertha. And
Oh, that's
of
so
course,
good.
I'd like to thank once again all you guys in the chat because without you, I wouldn't be here. And
Hmm.
this is my definitely the highlight of my week. I look forward to this. It gives me a reason to for my heart to keep beating every day and for me to get out of bed. That's why it's such a disappointment when I'm under the weather and I'm unable to do these streams. So I'm hoping to work on that. I spoke to my doctor, like I said. I'm hoping to balance it out where I don't feel crappy for one entire week out of every month. That seems to put I guess a cramp in my style, as the old line goes. But yeah, it was like really fun tonight. And like I said, thank you to the chat. Thank you everybody here, especially on the panel. I appreciate you guys spending time with me. It's like you guys came over to my house and visited for a little while, and that's always fun. Watch out for the
Always good
dogs.
to be here, buddy.
Just do the doggy do hop, skip, and jump. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
It's always fun to hang out with friends for sure.
yeah. Hey, just a sec. PvP, can you read this one?
The blob, some say, is made of expired eggnog. Damn, I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the smell?
I think
No, I don't want to imagine the smell, Nemesis. Thank you. Hey, you ever had a bag of potatoes that you put away in the cupboard go bad and you didn't realize it, and then you start to smell that? It's like that's not fun when something goes
That's
bad.
when they're growing roots and they're all soft and mushy and
Yeah,
everything.
and I just threw a bag out earlier this week because it's like, oh shit, I didn't realize, and it's like, okay, I'd rather just throw the whole damn bag out than deal with that, which
all
I
right,
did.
all right. After these two, I'm going to bed. There, I think we missed these. He said a great Thanksgiving movie as we all be feeling like a blob on Thursday. I was a high beat.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Nice.
All right, I'm going to bed. We'll see you guys.
Good night,
See you,
Gorilla.
Gorilla.
Have a good
Take
sleep,
care.
man. Have a really good
Yep.
sleep.
Yep, bye.
Good night.
All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you are able to tune in for our next stream. And like I said, I'll be posting like next Tuesday at this time. We're going to be covering a Hammer Dracula movie with Christopher Lee. So with that, thank you guys and have a great night. And PvP, I want to talk to you. Sorry, Nemesis, I want to talk to you for a second backstage after this show.
Well, I'll say
Okay.
bye too.
Bye bye. Yeah, that's fine. Bye bye, everybody. Good night.